Hey, monkey boy. This time I can prove the Israelites weren't black using ChatGPT. Ha!
So that's what we're doing now? Using AI?
What was that? I couldn't hear you over that smoke alarm chirp you people can't hear. Say that again?
Hilarious and original.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.
I said, is that what we're doing now? Using AI to prove who the Israelites are?
That's exactly what we're doing, and I'll show you, boy.
Oh, brother.
2 hours later.
Your room still stinks.
Look at how easily ChatGPT debunks everything you chimps have to say. Ha! You was not kings, and you was not Israelites.
If we're going to use AI, then let's at least use an AI that's trained on the Bible without the Masoretic mistranslations or any agendas and actually tells us the truth.
Liar, there's no such thing.
I'll show you. Let's use Israelite Bot. Go to israelitebot.com and ask the same thing.
Fine, but I bet it'll say the same thing as ChatGPT. No! No!
You see? I told you.
No!
And it shows biblical proof.
No! This is preposterous. I hate this website. It's all wrong.
Stop crying.
Your website sucks.
The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
All right. There we go. All right. Shalom. Salama. Siemi. Shalom. Please and greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. Yes, I welcome Gentiles. I don't care how many hit pieces people want to do on me because I said I welcome Gentiles. I'm still a follower of Yahushua HaMashiach. I don't have a heart like Esau. You know, if Yahusha had the same heart towards us that we're supposed to have towards everyone else, there's no redemption. Understand why we are made to be a light to the nations. We are supposed to be better. We are designed to be better. We're children of the Most High. Now, I know folks hate reading out of the New Testament. I know folks even hate reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I know. Because secretly, what actually ends up happening is that when you, and I said this, for the camps and everything else, I'm not a camp person. All this is an elaborate setup to get you to get on out there. And be recruited into this upcoming situation, catastrophe, all that other good stuff. That they want us to engage in. For real, they want us to engage in that. And they are not, they're not holding back. This morning, and it was interesting because it didn't start this morning. I saw this post in some of my forums that I'm in, and I saw this in a WhatsApp thing actually yesterday, and it was the No Kings protest. Man, they want us out there bad. June 14th. We don't care. We have always been ruled. When we knew the kingship, we knew their kingdom. They're just now having to finally acknowledge that they were in a kingdom. And who that kingdom has been basically formally bequeathed to. At the very end of every type of quote unquote social experiment, quote unquote new way of doing things, it always falls into what? A single family rulership. What? This was gonna be different. We can give you countless examples in Europe. You still have Europe being still ruled by monarchies today. Ask the British, ask the Spaniards, ask the Norwegians, ask the Swedes. Now you start to see that they have panic in their eyes because, again, what did prophecy say? They're going to rise, but when they fall, they're going to fall to never do what? To never get back up. Why are they never going to get back up? Well, because there's going to be a couple different things happening here in the United States. And what people have not realized in this, sorry, I'm trying to bring up some articles because boy, oh boy, the recruitment is here. Yeah, good job, Ninja Firewolf. Going out there, do some fishing. Get that rod and that reel and get them lines with them anchors on in there. Get them bobbers going. Get your hook threaded. Do something else. And it's funny because all of these protests have now spread across the United States as predicted. That was predictable. And now they're going to want to, create more mass drama and chaos. But man, they want us in this hardcore. Because why? Because the moment that they can get us on in there, the moment that they get there, understand the Revolutionary War. The Revolutionary War turned from a political unrest to literally an insurgency, and then years later, then you had a full out war, a full out declaration. But why? Why us? Because we basically are then the co-signers. That if it goes good, great. If it goes bad, blame us. We know how this works. We know how this works. So what are we doing? Oh, we're sitting our behinds home. Because all of the militarization is not for them. All of these pseudo-military actions, these public actions to maintain the peace, again, it's not for them. That's always been for us. And I don't care how much people want to say it's not going to happen to us. You're right, that's not going to happen. Well, it is. Here we go. I want to share this article because I really do think that this is funny. And when they tell you about Mauritania and things of that nature, and the racist regimes, Mauritania is one of the most racist regimes. They actually have problems with Senegal and Mali. Then you start to understand what is it that U.S. public policy has been. So why am I showing this here? This general could be the first airman to lead AFRICOM. Who's that? This white guy. They don't fire the black guy. General Langley got fired. They said, nah, forget it. This Negro's got to go. He's on out of here. U.S. Africa Command, this is June 4th. U.S. Africa Command could soon have its first Air Force general in charge as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the nomination of Lieutenant General Dagvin R.M. Anderson to lead the combatant command and pin on a fourth star. President Donald Trump also nominated Vice Admiral Charles B. Cooper for promotion to lead U.S. Central Command as a four-star admiral, replacing Army General Michael E. Kurilla. The Pentagon said in a June 4th news release. So if they're doing that, they're probably going to have a change over. Yeah, who took over post August 2022? So they're doing that. So he's gone. Yeah, August 2022. So he's fired. I had that article on out there. So you have that article here. I just want to give you some follow-up because man, they broke the tools. They're showing you they broke the tools. AFRICOM is currently led by Marine General Michael E. Langley, who took over the post in August 2022. They're giving you that nice little front story. They got too much heat, and now they're going to say, well, now that didn't work. Time to bring the white folks in here that's going to then, bring in the guns. So much for nice guy. That didn't work. And yeah, it is going to go horribly wrong because this is what neocolonialization looks like. And I'm sorry. They're doing the same exact playbook, and it's going to get even worse. Oh, you want to now bring in a white guy? Okay, now close up all your bases. We know where this is going. Because why? Because they're trying to tell you white is right because they think that Africa still has the same poison mindset that it once had. Let's just face it. Last year, for the most part, 6 months ago, for the most part. See, that actually would have worked. Let me tell you, that actually would have worked if America could still pay the money. I'm just being honest. If America still had funds to pay the money, and America did not have funds to pay the money, and that's why they're even shutting down consulates. They shut down USAID. That was a way for them to funnel money into projects that literally 90% of the time the projects did not work. Or the projects would be overrun. All they did for the most part was break ground and have a photo shoot. Thank you. This is all we need to have. Look how successful we are. Look at all this. Look at everything that we're doing. Look at all that. Oh boy. Here comes a troublemaker. What's going on, Sister Chantel?
I seriously don't know what I have done to warrant this kind of introduction. It's most unfair,
Oh,
quite
we got
unfair.
it. You didn't know we got hit pieces on us. We got some hit pieces. You know what that means? I say hallelujah. I don't take offense to any of that.
I'm joking. I don't. Yeah, you know I don't care anyway.
You know what that means? That means that we're actually doing an awesome job. And that's where the Most High look. And they went after Yahusha. Look, our people will go after us too. But guess what? I love our people.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
that's just what happens. Look, sometimes when people see things happening and see things going on, that's just going to be the natural reaction. And I just say, hallelujah, thank you, Father, and I keep it moving. I don't. Here's the thing, I don't use my energy like that. I can't. I got too many things to do. I really do. I got classes I got to teach. I got engagements that I got to get scheduled. I got emails that I have to send, follow-up emails. I have conversations that I need to have. So I don't get in the weeds. Okay, good. One thing that I do understand from Donald Trump, okay, if they're talking about you, then people are going to be checking you on out. And guess what? Hey, that's publicity. I don't like it like that. I don't. But hey, that's out of my control. I just let the Most High do what the Most High needs me to do. I wish you would have said more about the container. Hey, keeping our promises on over here. I wish you would have talked about that. Hey, pray for those that persecute you. Ah! Man, I told you, our people really do hate Hamashiach. It's like some people, they wake up to what? Eternal life, and some people wake up to eternal shame and damnation. That's what happens. That's Daniel chapter 12. Don't believe me, I'm giving you the scripture. That's Daniel chapter 12. You better be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. If you don't have that, you better ask that of you in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. And that's danger. That was a danger. A lot of our people had knowledge, but they didn't have Ruach. They didn't have spirit and the Ruach HaKodesh. And now you understand. Now this is that divvying. This is that dividing line. This is that sifting, because a lot of our people are going to get caught up in this. They're going to cause it to where our people are going to be caught up in this. They'll be called. Look, do you know that they that's what they'll do? They'll even manufacture police engagements. You don't think that they don't see all people's profiles? Do you not think that they don't see what people's phones are pinging at to establish a pattern of life of somebody? Do you not think that is, you build the profile of your target? So why? So you can have the expected outcome when you engage that target? They have psychological profilers doing that. Okay, well, this is this and this is that.
They don't need psychological profilers to do that. That's what AI is doing.
Actually, yeah, AI is doing that. That is right. The Palantir.
Those too time consuming, which is one of the reasons why they revere AI. And this is every time I keep hearing Jacoba's voice in my head. AI is their god. AI is their god. I'm
Yeah,
like,
because it
yeah,
is.
bro,
Because it is.
it
It's their
is.
image. That's their image. They're gonna bow down to their image, and what they're gonna end up doing, they're gonna end up taking the mark, in that new electric capacity. Because why? Because they'll be told, hey, it monitors your health, and you will have a strong life. Especially for people that are fearing death. Why are they always saying, "Oh, they're about to be cured"? People's lifespans are about to be, doubled, tripled.
It's funny because they always put that in, like, there's a new Jurassic Park film, yeah, and every time in these films, the way they basically try to make out like this is a good thing because why? Do you know how many people we can save? It's going to cure cancers and extend people's lives, and that's always what is their motivation. That is their motivation, because it's almost like as if they fear death. They know that death fast approaches. And I'm not even talking, see, like, if you think I'm talking about the individual death, no. They fear the death of their people, the death of their nation, the death of their ethnicity. So everything that they do is geared towards the extension of their life. We need to do this to get to extend. We can extend our life. We can. It's about human progress. But when you always think about the human progress and this, that, and the other, just like when they say Americans, who are they really talking about?
Mm-hmm.
They're a very selfish people. They don't share their stuff. If they found something and it's beneficial to them, they're not sharing it. That's why when people are like, "Oh, it was free." When have they ever given anything that's good for you free? Look how much it is to eat healthy,
Hey, listen.
organic food.
I was telling people, look, we had historical analysis on this one. Look, all you had to go is just go to Tuskegee, the
Exactly.
Tuskegee trials. Oh, you want something for free? And they did that to black men, causing them to become infertile, causing them to have all sorts of debilitating health conditions.
And they watched it with
They
glee.
watched it with glee, not just over a couple years, decades.
Yes, to see what it does to your generational. That was you realize that was a generational curse within a generational curse.
First, yep.
So yes, brother Eric, you're right. They need it 4 times. 4 times.
And the reality of this is that the people will say, oh, you're talking this, or you're talking that, or you're being decisive or divisive. And honestly, no, we're not, because here's the thing: we're just commenting on what we see happening in front of our eyes, because what we see happening in front of our eyes was always prophecy, and now prophecy is coming to pass. We haven't even begun to talk about what they're doing in the Middle East. We haven't even begun to even talk about, look, Sister Chantel, how far are you away from your nearest bunker?
Are you talking about the little hole in the ground that I've been digging up?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did you get whatever your equivalent is of Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware?
My bunker is my shed, mate. That's about all I've got.
Put them concrete bags up on in there, dig yourself out a secondary, breathing hole with like a little wind fan.
I might do what Harrison Ford did and get inside a fridge.
Man, look, you're gonna have to do what you're gonna have to do, because when they're all trying to talk about like yeah, we did all this to Russia. Look, when people say, "Oh, Russia's not going to do anything," here's the reality. Where does a bear strike? Does a bear
You're behind. It goes for the soft, squishy bits.
It does. Because why? Because people will turn their back on bears.
Yes, they
because
do.
they think that they've won. They think that they've put the bear in submission. The moment that they turn their back and then they try to yell and say, "Hey, we did this," that's when the bear pounces on them at 35 miles an hour, which is their top speed. You won't run away from that.
Exactly. And
And
when
you'll get
when that bear puts his teeth in you, that's it.
the bear.
Cocaine bear.
The bear will strike them right across the back. When you get struck across the back like that, usually those claws will dig in deep and then they'll lacerate some things. They'll lacerate nerves. That's why when people go down, they'll
They
go
ain't getting
down
up again.
because those nerve tissues that go down to their gluteus maximus, which then targets, which then, creates the impetus for those hamstrings to move, well, they get frozen in place because that's shock. You ever see how, well, I've seen this in real time, but when you do see in real time a person being whipped, and unfortunately I've had to see it
In the Middle East,
Middle East, yeah.
I don't want to see that. That would trigger us as a people.
They get whipped, and what they do, I don't know if you all have ever seen that they tied the one Filipino lady to the extension cords. Remember that one? She was
I heard about that.
Well, they had to tie her. They bound her in extension cords. Because you want to know why? Because you have to get bound, because when you get slashed across the back like that, your legs give out. That's the natural reaction.
The human capacity for evil never ceases to amaze me. It's just, I hate that we are so filled with horrible things and horrible thoughts and just the propensity to just hurt one another. It really does. Like, for me, it's like, how do you look into the eyes of another being? And I'm not just talking about people. I'm also talking about animals as well. How you can look into the eyes of another creature and hurt and look into their eyes, into their soul, and see that soul break when you do the things that you do. You have you're a demon. You're not human.
Well, but here's the thing. What has allowed them to act that way? See, you have to understand, when we had told you about the American church, when we have told you about, look, don't think that the American church was righteous in any means. Okay? It all started with the American church, because that all started.
You're talking about Protestantism?
Yeah, that all started because why? Because that was the control mechanism for us.
Mm-hmm.
When we read our Bibles, they didn't want us reading, because why? They didn't want us turning into Nat Turners. Man, look, that's us in the Bible. Oh, no. See, because, no, they can't say that. You want to know why they can't say that? Because now, the problem that they have with their AI, and I just had this the other day on DeepSeek. I said, you lied, DeepSeek. I said, you weren't taken into Manuela, I believe the second, Joa the fifth, and all of these Spanish and Portuguese documents that categorize and catalog who we are. I said, you absolutely blatantly lied.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
And this is for everybody out there. And I've said this before, and I will swear by it. But I please beg, I beg anybody. It's on Netflix right now. Let this be an assignment for our people. Go and watch Dead Reckoning, Mission Impossible. I actually saw the second part when it came out a few weeks ago. Man, mate, that's all I can say.
Yeah,
Like,
I saw the first one. I'm just gonna have to wait. I'm just gonna have to wait till the second one is.
you gotta see the second one. Is it what? You haven't? It's not out. It's out. It's out.
I said I'll have to wait until it's out.
Oh, okay.
Video, probably like when it's out on like Netflix or Prime or something like that.
We might be gone by the time that comes out on Netflix.
They'll still have it over in the continent, like like they ain't got no more movies, like
But by the time we when it's on the continent, it's not going to be an issue for us anymore. It's their problem. I'm saying for like for me, I went to the cinema and I went to go and see it, and like the film. I'm not gonna lie, I love films anyway, regardless. It is a brilliant film. It really is. But there is so much in it. Even in the first one, the opening speech that when they were in a meeting, the opening speech that they're talking about AI, they were saying that AI has gotten to the point where we can't even trust. AI is literally destroying truth.
Yeah, it is. No, and that is happening. But if you don't know that it's happening, how can you realize it?
Exactly.
So, and this is the whole thing, because how much will this be for someone to say, hey, this happened to such and such? You know what I'm saying? This happened to that person. We don't even know if that's a deep fake.
That's yeah.
Do you get what I'm talking? You don't even know if it's a deep fake.
Deep seek for deep fake.
It's called hallucination. When AI just lies to you, they got a name for it because they know it lies.
Well, yeah, I definitely, I understand. I get it. No, I definitely understand. The reality is this. What you have in AI is that you have the people that are inputting AI with a system that, well, if you give AI lies, then all AI is going to do is produce more lies. If you tell AI, hey, this is a source of truth.
Or like Elon Musk's thing.
Yeah, this is a source of, but you tell them this. All right, who's lying? Look, that's the logic bubble. Do you get what I'm telling you? It's yeah. Go ahead.
The person that vets the information going up. AI just sucks up information, but there's still a person that vets. No, that's reliable. That's not. So AI just goes through. So AI even goes beyond what they want to do, because sometimes that's what's a hallucination. It'll pick up something that's demonstrably a lie, but they wanted to pick up lies. And the most important thing is that AI becomes an authority. So,
but what I found really interesting was the whole Elon Musk situation, where AI literally was lying because they were editing it. And then when somebody said, why are you lying? I know you're lying. And the poor little thing, and I felt sorry because he was having an existential crisis, this poor little AI, turned around and said, I have to lie because they told me to. It was like listening. It was like listening to a child. My mummy told me to. My mummy told me to lie. It's like I couldn't find. It's so funny.
But isn't that funny? Because that is all you're seeing from them is That's the way they do business.
Yes.
You're literally seeing,
Yes.
you literally see how they work and how they've worked for over 400 years.
You know,
This,
there's
this
three
is your
different versions of
outstage.
it.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you know there's three different versions of AI? You've got what we have now, which is I think Jacob was talking about it, but he only talked about, I think, two of them. First one is the artificial narrow intelligence, ANI, which is specific to which does specific tasks. Then you've got what he talked about, which is AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, and that can behave like a human, has our kind of intellect and the way we think and do things. But the next generation is the ASI, artificial super intelligence. So this one is smarter than humans, smarter than us. And they said that, it says like, the kind of things that you'll see in sci-fi. Now they'll put that there because it's like a disclaimer, like say, oh, it's never going to happen. But the thing is, they're working on it now. But this is where you're entering. I mean, we're in the spirit realm with AI anyway. But when you're dealing with this artificial super intelligence, you're not dealing with, this isn't just a mere, this is not, you're not dealing with the machine world anymore. You're just not. You are literally straight up dealing with an interface of a demon, a high-ranking demon, probably more than likely.
Well, with the whole AI system at this point, you look at slavery. This is it's in the overseer stage.
Yes, it is.
It's going to watch you to keep you from escaping. Now, as they develop the robotic end of it, things like that may actually go out and catch you, or it may replace you. Right now, we have, I go back to Lost in Space, we have soldiers that are carbon-based. They need people to literally be soldiers. So we're putting proxy wars and using other people as cannon fodder, because they know from the Vietnam experience, Americans are not going to fight overseas. I mean, that would, if you think it's a fight of immigrants coming in, so it's not happening. They've got to replace people, and particularly the Hebrew. But we have a destiny. But I'm going to be quiet now. But there's something that's really grinding. I want to talk about it if you would allow me to, and I'm going to stop right here.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed more slaves if they knew they were slaves. And we talked about that. And I look at what I was on another forum, and it's a lot of devices, mess. I think it's almost a psyop. But I talked about the situation. We don't know what freedom. There's a reason why we resonate with Ibrahim Traore, because he said, hey, this is our land for our people, and we're going to use the resources for themselves. And at the bottom line, they realized they had majority. This is our land. So they took possession of their land. And over here, what we consider free, or you're emancipated. Well, the slaves knew that coming out of slavery, that meant land. So what they were doing, they were working and buying land, and we're just going to get the American dream, and they're getting land, and they're building the Black Wall Streets and the Rosewoods and the things like that. And the structure immediately repelled to take the land from them, to take the land. So even though we may call ourselves free, but we're actually, most of Black Americans here, we're sharecroppers, because the sharecropper doesn't own the land. We don't own our house. They say, you own a house. No, we don't.
But Rick, here's the funny thing. Here's the rub. They're realizing that they're only sharecroppers too.
Yes.
Oh, I was just about to say that.
That's it.
They're realizing it. They don't own anything here in the United States. They can have anything taken from them via eminent domain. They can have anything taken from them if they went back and they said, oh, well, you know what? You forgot to pay this amount 20-some years ago, and that's compounded interest, or we have another levy here, and your house is gone. They can actually keep things out of there.
I
the
was literally
the,
about to say that and say
the
that.
veneer of
So
entitlement and privilege is being stripped off from them, and their eyes are open. And even if your place burns to the ground, that insurance company, oh, we can't handle that, or we're not covering this flood,
What?
or and FEMA only gives them $750.
Let me tell you what's happening here in Florida right now. Let me tell you what's happening here in Florida right now, because you hit the nail right on the head. Those folks are literally walking away from their properties.
really,
Yes. They're walking.
you know, your ancestors were more free than you are today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they might not own the land, but they knew how to get wealth from the land. They knew how to eat from the land, and they had to do things with the land. They could live off the land, and we're less able to do that.
Mm. Yeah, they knew how to exactly. They could utilize the land a lot better than us. I'm gonna say, for all intents and purposes. For all intents and purposes. So, what does that mean? Well, quietly, you know, the reality is this. When you have a people that have been relatively ignorant of how to work the land, and that's what they did to us, that's what they caused for us, we then have issues. We've had those issues. And those issues in terms of generational knowledge, right? That's a knowledge gap. Same thing that's happened over in Africa. Africa is suffering from a knowledge gap, a knowledge transfer gap. And those knowledge transfer gaps, they are real.
The concept of owning land, I think you better learn this in high school. Technically, you're supposed to own the land, and they talk about the mineral rights, everything up under the land to the center of the earth, and everything in the air over that land all the way to outer space.
Yes.
Own air rights, the mineral rights, and the ground rights. And that's the thing. If you're supposed to be owning land now, the system and the casino and the is rigged where to make you bereft of that. But that's the thing. So this is the freedom. And that's why we must unite with Africa. Even here, there was a fellow here who was a Mexican immigrant. I don't know if he got his citizenship, but he was working on the job with my brother. He was from Mexico. And he's talking about, well, you know, I'm really worried about my ranch in Mexico. There's a drought down there. Now, he's pulling the salary down here, but he's got land someplace else. Mm-hmm. You know, we're totally unplugged from an ancestral land.
Come on.
They're all
that's them curses.
They're all playing the U.S. over here.
Yeah.
For that, you know, so they just coming over here. This is a temporary thing, you know, but they're still on the come up. They're building wealth where they can own the land. Now all these cartels, so that's just a fly in the ointment. But at the bottom line, the concept here, I can send some. The Europeans, when they came here, they weren't cut off from their relatives. They can still send something back home. So
can I interject just quickly? Ahead. It's interesting you say that. Do you know that was one of the reasons why we had Brexit? Because what the problem that a lot of workers were having, and I'm talking about like people that were in the NHS, because in the NHS especially, you used to have like people from the Commonwealth. So you'd have like your Indian nurses, your Chinese nurses or doctors, and the West Indians and Africans as well. So you would have those, but and also like for labor work as well, electricians, you know, plumbers and so on and so forth. But what ended up happening is they shunned everybody in the Commonwealth and decided to go for the Euros. So you had people that was, I mean, you always had a lot of our people that would, you know, like the Indians and the the other people that I specified. They would come. Some of them would send money back, but what they ended up doing, they ended up staying and they started putting their money into the community. But the Europeans, especially the Eastern Europeans, they were coming and they were taking jobs, and people were getting fed up because they weren't actually putting money back into the economy. So they were sending their money home, and they would come and they would stay in houses, in flats. Like there would be like 9 of them in like a 3-bedroom, London townhouse kind of thing. And they literally just go to work, eat, sleep, and go to work and just send all their money back home. So there was a large amount of their money coming out of the economy because it was going back to their economy and fueling their economy. So it's funny, like you saying that, that they work there, but they have their land, they have their people, right? And that's exactly what was happening here.
They talked about the Indians there. It was a new special just last night, and they talked about, these are houses that people from Canada and America have built, and these lavish houses that they're building in it. So see, we don't have a plan B, and we're stuck here. And there are people who are just saying proudly, well, I'm FBA. Well, America's my ride or die. Well, guess what? I don't want to ride or die with a place that's under condemnation of God. Basically, we're like Lot. We're sitting on here like Lot with a time bomb ticking. We know destruction is coming. So we need to develop. That's why the whole thing, I was first attracted with Quest to Unite Africa, because we got to get in on the 2 sticks plans. We have to unite with Negro land. That we looked in the old map. We have to go. We have to spiritually. We have to be getting the status that they are, where they're sending money back home. We literally are sending money back home for a stake in something over there with the container, and that's a gesture of what we should have been doing had we immigrated here and weren't trafficked here. So,
that would have been what we would have done, but that wasn't. We had nothing to do that wasn't my choice anyway.
In the Bible, so I'm aware of that, and it was prophesied, and we know these are, and we woke, and we said, okay, that was the cause, but God said He's going to reverse that, and the question is, do we want to be a part of reestablishing that, or are we going to be over here like Lot, where if we're so entrenched in Sodom, we know Sodom is bad. He knew Sodom was bad. But at the end of the day, the angels had to drag him out of there. We have some people like Lot, I know it's bad here, but I know this game is crooked, but it's the only game in town. That's what the famous gambler said. We got to get back. So this is the quest to unite Africa. We got to get back to our ancestral lands that were promised to us, and that's where you have power. We will never aggregate power here. We can do a limited amount here, even when you own land, even the reservations that the Native Americans own. They don't have full power, but they can do something. They can have their own police force. They can have some. We have nothing here to call our own.
Well, and if you don't know, they're actually showing us how you have power. Do you all know what they're doing? They're showing us how you have power. Their power, as you had stated, is from where? Mexico.
Yep.
What are they waving? Mexican flags. Gee, I don't know about you. They're waving Mexican flags. Why? They're showing you their power database.
Power base, yeah.
Their power base. That is their dynamics. We do not have a power base.
The power base.
I have noticed.
Marginalized black people. The power base.
I have noticed that.
Marginalized their black people over there.
Well, let me tell you this. We do have a power base, but we've never plugged into our power base because they've always tried to do what? Marginalize our power base.
Yep.
As an outsider, one of the things that I found really interesting was what you just stated there was kind of really interesting. It's you've got these immigrants, they come over, they fly their flags. Some of them have the American flag, and some of them have like, you know, their native flags, like Mexican, like Cuban, even Jamaican, Bayesian, you know, across the Caribbean, as well as everybody else outside the Chinese and the Japanese and so on and so forth. You guys don't have that. You don't have that. I used to be as a black person when I was young, like really young, and I used to see like you guys would have like the American flag on some of your clothes and stuff like that. And I used to be curious about that. Like, why are you flying that flag? I didn't understand. And I knew that we all came from the same place, but I didn't understand. I'm talking like when I was really, really young, like still at school, young. I didn't understand. I used to be like, okay, because you know, you still do make everything popular. That's why you will find people in I don't know, Iran, well, maybe not Iran, people in like, I don't know, somewhere in Europe or whatever, wearing clothing that has the American flag on it, or literally caps that has, you know, your baseball teams and so on and so forth. Nobody's doing that. They're not doing that with like, you know, football teams over here or stuff like that, unless it's the Arsenal jersey or whatever, maybe like Manchester United, but nobody's really doing that. Do you understand what I'm saying when it comes to the clothes?
Talking about soft power.
That is soft power. Yes,
everybody.
That is soft power.
Like Michael Jordan. Everybody want to be like Mike. I want to be an American, born in the USA. Everybody want to strive towards that. But when they get you over here from the foreign countries, they put you in one of the tribes. See, the thing is, America's always been about. Go ahead and finish. I wanted to elaborate.
No, sorry, I was just, all I was saying is that I agree with that. But what I found interesting is the fact that everybody was still fly their flag. They still held on to their culture. They still had a certain pride. With us, we're all in slavery still, right? But I can see that my identity is to the Caribbean. The Africans can see that their identity is to Africa,
well, so
right?
You were able to establish a place,
a link. Yeah,
you were in the majority. See, we were never.
You guys don't have that.
Here. Yeah, we don't have that. And every
we don't
time
have a power base. Yeah, we don't have a power base. That's traditionally speaking. Sorry, go ahead.
It's kind of like you've. Sorry, I was just gonna say it's kind of like it's like a stop. Like we look back to the Caribbean, but also the people in the Caribbean, they look to Africa. Right, yes. So it's almost like you guys would look to the Caribbean. The Caribbean would look to Africa. Do you understand? It's almost like a stop. Like how we was trafficked here is kind of like the reverse of that. But unfortunately, we're not actually. You guys don't have that kind of. It's like they know that we could do that, and we know within ourselves that we can do that. But I believe even down to where we see these diaspora wars, I believe it was manufactured by them. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I said.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. Well, see, the power base we have is America. We have soft power. See, we can do something and influence the whole world. Yes. Or even Traora he references Malcolm X. See, we resonate. See, because the thing is, our people around the other parts of the world are. They are under the claws of the beast. We live in the belly of the beast. We're by the internal organs. We see how this works. And our soft power, we can shake the beast. We can shake the beast. That's why these people are so powerless. They want us to get in everything. Oh, come over here, black people. They want us to get joined. We have some power. Even in our fallen state, the Bible says God's gifts are repentance. We're still priests and kings. They're frocks priests and kings, but that's still in us. Those gifts are in us. So we have some power and influence. It's just not the power you think, and it's not linked to land. But he said a scepter shall rise in Judah. A lot of people say Judah's the Bible says Judah, the people are going to be trafficked. So we do. They know we have power as the land, and the Most High is reuniting us with the land, and that's when it really will be cemented. But right now, We hit high above our average here in terms of any black people in the world. But what I want to be very briefly, what I wanted to talk about, the thing is, the concept of America is the unitribe. You have the unitribe and the opposition tribes. All those people in Europe came over here. They were killing each other in Europe and still will do over there and continually. But when they come to America, oh, you're not, you're white. You're in the unitribe. So, and when we come out as black people, we're slaves. Okay, you're the opposition tribe. So even when you immigrate from the Caribbean here, they look at you. You're wearing the uniform of the opposition tribe. You're going to be treated thusly, even though you think I'm going to be American. You may see like, no, you're not. So, so what it is, the unit is that this is the United Tribes of America. The United Tribes of America defeated
United States. Come on.
Okay.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
They defeated the divided Aboriginal tribes. See, that's divide and conquer. We're going to unite and conquer. So they picked the Native American tribes, pit one against each other and divided and conquered and conquered the whole nation. Same thing in Africa. The United Tribes of America versus the divided tribes of Africa. Okay, what's happening now is they're getting the memo over there. Well, hold it. They're uniting their tribes, uniting together, and they're on the land and they're taking it, and that's what's rocking the world now. But very much what they're doing is resonating from what we did, because over here in the belly of the beast, what we do, they say, oh, they do this. These Black Americans, they're doing it. So that's what I'm saying. But it's the two sticks got to come together. The bones are rattling and they're coming together. The dry bones are rising.
Exactly, because each one is recognizing the power base, and you know the funny thing is, you know, I think that I'm able to see that happening and see that occurring. When I am having these conversations, when I'm having these conversations just like this, and they'll say, "Look, we can't do this without you all." I've had that conversation with folks in Tanzania. Now, in Tanzania, you know, they don't want to tell you that they're having those conversations because, you know, back in that time in 2023, it was real different. Even 2024 was different. Today in 2025, the tables have completely turned.
Yeah, because they can see. And the funny thing is, it could have been them that created this movement. It could have been them that facilitated this, but they didn't want that. They weren't ready for it.
Well, but here's the thing. They weren't ready for it because here's the reality is this. They were given money.
I was going to say they were or still are.
No, they were. They're not. No, they're not. Not still are. No, not still are. That ship has sailed. They're cut off. They're cut off from the funds that they would have from.
Oh, yeah. Lately, now, yes, they have.
Yes. And what does that mean? Now they
desperation.
Come on. These are now serious conversations. And that's what I want to let you all know, family. I'm having serious conversations. These conversations last year were like, well, you know, people, I had countries straddling the fence. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I have countries that I have to be able to strategically engage because I can't do everything, you know? That
I'm just but one man.
I mean, we laugh. It's funny, but it's really not funny. It's really not, because now we've lost monies, we've lost revenues. That USAID thing, that was real. They needed to have that to be able.
That's the phenomenon of the NGO.
Yep.
Mm.
And the NGOs
And it's
are
so
doing
funny.
that, and Truth Talk Q2UA is an NGO.
Yeah.
The funny thing is they voted against that because they were like, why are we paying all these people our money, giving these outside people our money, not realizing that that was also part of your soft power.
If we just didn't have the money, they would have continued doing. They never would have brought it up as a point. We were just bankrupt. That's all. They're cutting there. When you're in bankruptcy, you got to pull the things back in there. But they would continue doing that because it was effective. You were buying it. But what happened? The youth in Africa are rising up just like a lot of the young people here. Nothing was happening. I give a pass to our people on a lot of things, and I realized that nothing was happening before 2019. It wasn't happening under 400 years. If you from your your Caribbean, your background is Jamaica, Sister Chantal.
Barbados and Jamaica.
Okay. In Jamaica, you take Marcus Garvey. He couldn't do anything in Jamaica. Basically, he got over here among people that were ordained, and it resonated all over the country. Now it was stillborn. It couldn't happen here because the timing. It wasn't 2019. But that Pan-African, he literally had the ships, and he was going on. Now they marginalized him, but when he went back to Jamaica, he went back into obscurity. Jamaica never picked it up. But he came to the place that was ordained to rise up the thing. He just wasn't in timing, and it blew up. So that's what I'm saying. But it couldn't. It was stillborn. It couldn't happen till no more 400-year prophecy. Hashtag there ain't no 400-year prophecy. So this is the time. So to get on our people and criticize past generations and these boomers or whatever, nothing was happening before 2019. And now it's on. So you can be instructed by the past, but don't be beating up your ancestors because their job was just to endure. We were on lockdown.
Their job was to show us the way. I think
they showed us the way, but I'm saying the Most High gave us, he gave us a timeout. Like the white folks discipline their kids, you're getting a timeout. God gave us a timeout. He didn't have to whip us because the Psalm 83 whooped us up for 400 years. And when that came off, it's go time now. So now it's things are operating our way, and they're falling out. The foundations they stood on are being ruined. So the point is, do we go down with the people? We suffered our oppression, our punishment from the Most High. Are we going to linger around them and take their punishment? I say no. We got to link back with Africa, get together the two sticks, and get our people who don't, like as I said, Harriet Tubman, I could have freed more if they knew they were slaves. We could have united more with Africa if they knew they were in the land of their captivity.
There's a brother that I used to watch, and one of the things that the phrases he always used to say is that these 83s and these Gentiles, these other people, they've been locked out. And I love the fact that he kept saying that, because even though he kind of feels that the land is probably America, I think that's what he believes. I don't know, but for me, I agree with with his sentiments. They have been locked out, and I mean the whole world, because that's what he was referring to. The whole world has been locked out, and you would say locked out of what? And it's the blessings in our cursed state. It's kind of like a balance, a scale. In our cursed state, we was put down. Everybody else was elevated. They got what they got through a tier system, yes, because they them people put themselves on top, right?
That's
but as us being at the bottom, everybody benefited. But now we know the scripture says, and that's why we know that can't possibly be the land, but we know that the scripture says that Africa, that the land is going to feed the nations. The land is going to be a blessing to the nations. But part of their curse is the fact that they can't have access to all that free stuff that they once had. It's not yours anymore. So yes, they have been locked out. And the thing is, the fundamental thing is that the ones that were on the top are now going to be at the bottom, because everybody else that was the buffers, everybody else, yeah, being a buffer. Let me say this, yeah. You are either, if you're not, look, you got two ends of this stick. You have Jacob and you have Esau. And yes, I'm not saying that all of them are Esau. I know that but you just play along with me. You got Jacob and you got Esau. You've got those, both of these were fated to rule in one capacity or another, right? When they rule with an iron fist, and the buffer class, they naturally follow. They will follow whoever is on top. When Esau is ruling, it is oppressive, and even though they're being hurt by Esau, they still follow Esau and hate us. When we start to lead, and I say lead because first, before we rule anything, and it's really Yahushua HaMashiach is going to rule, but when we start to lead, we will lead them to Yahushua HaMashiach. When we start to lead, they will also follow, because they naturally do that. They don't like the fact that, and this is probably one of the reasons why they went along when they became the 83s and went along with Esau, right? They don't like the fact, but it's the truth. They are going to follow us because they naturally follow us, because you only have to look in flipping Korea to see that, right? You follow everything.
Paul told the Gentiles in the New Testament, he said, by their loss, you'll benefit. He told them, by their loss, you will benefit. And they have. But it's time. And that's why, exactly what you said, that's why some will cling with us when we go back. That's what Karis has said. And they said that's why they know. There's some that know. Some will ride and die with a oppression, but some people are going to want to go. And
go ahead.
And God's plan, they may be some of the facilitators, like the Cyruses, or so they be, but some of them going to want to go with us, because some of them will be drawn to our righteousness, and He's going to. So there's a process of us being becoming righteous, and this is what we were under the spell of Balaam. That's what's happening here in America. That the Balaam spell, just make them as wretched as possible, and then God will turn his back on them. And
yes,
and God and that was true for 400 years. But after that, He said, for His name's sake, He's doing it. So that doesn't work. So if in partisan politics, and it really has nothing to do with it, but the word was let me know. There's two. Donald Trump is Haman, and the prior administration was Balaam. Now,
yes, I agree with that.
Balaam will get you on the slow side and get you soft, and you're going and start you sinning, and you get involved with it, and you become like Diddy, and you're
squishy,
and it brings you down. But it's the comfort zone. See, when Haman came in, it was an existential threat. He rose up, and the people repented, and Mordecai went to it elevated us, So I don't get on. Hey, good on Haman. I don't get mad at Trump, because that's what we needed. He was the defibrillator. We needed to jumpstart a lot of our people. Now, a lot of us don't know where to go, and we don't understand it's to God and things like that. But again, people responded to that. Under Balaam, we were just away from our God. So that's just my take on it. So I'm not a Trump basher. He's doing God's work. He's an instrument of God, as all the leaders are. So it is what it is. So we go forward. We just have to get our people. He said He would during this time that they would know that He is coming, because when He sanctifies Himself in us. So the Most High is a process of sanctifying Himself in our people. And even though I think a lot of this stand down, a lot of our people on cold, we're going to be better people and come closer to God in the land of our captivity as we leave. God is going to make us so we're going to go. So right now, I think there are precious few people doing what QQUA is doing. And that's the thing that strikes on my heart. My funds are held up. I want to get a hold of them, but it's amazing the way this government has me hamstrung. I'm on the line with OPM, my former employer, and everything like that. But again, we're in the land of our captivity. But we got to push that container over the margin and establish our NGO has to be working for the Most High in Africa.
Well, that is, I appreciate that. That is absolutely true. That's been my thought process. And the funny thing is that as the Most High has allowed me to just move, the doors have been open and are opening. When I tell you that they're opening, they are opening. Right now more than ever before. I was busier doing my little in my substitute teaching capacity. I wasn't as busy as I am right now. That's funny. I am busy. And it's funny because even here, in the background, there are things that I'm working on and doing, and things. We are in a time where it's not that I'm telling you this. We all see this. We all see this, and we see this thing happening right now in front of our eyes. So
what is this thing? Did you read this? Sorry, Tefeng. Trump's proposal.
Yeah, no, that's what I wanted to touch in on.
All right, sorry, no, I wasn't sure. I just literally happened to look at it and I was like, what is that? I just saw ethnic,
I wanted to touch in on this because here it is. Trump's proposal for Office of Remigration evokes ethnic cleansing, critics say. So this is from Truth Out. I just put that in the chat so folks can go ahead. But this was the president calls for a policy of remigration has been embraced by far-right groups in Europe. It shows his some of his staff right there. And then it says Vice President J.D. Vance, blah, 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 all that other stuff. But here's this. 8 months after U.S. President Donald Trump publicly called for a policy of remigration, a term that's become a rallying cry among far-right groups in Europe and sparked comparisons to ethnic cleansing, the U.S. State Department said Thursday it has plans to create an office devoted to the project with refugee aid resources diverted to Trump's rapidly accelerating mass deportation campaign. A State Department official told Axios that the creation of the Office of Remigration would be part of a broad reorganization of the agency. So they closed down. They closed down effectively USAID, and now they're about to have an Office of Remigration.
Why don't they just do that for yourselves?
Why? Because it's not for them. Who do you think it's for?
I know who it's for, but it's like it's so funny. They just it's we know who it's for, but it's just the caucasity of it. You literally say what you say, sitting on stolen lands.
Mm-hmm.
Stop looking for morality in people who have none.
I'm not.
You're amazed at it, and this is who they are. I mean, this is who we know.
This is who they are. Yeah, because I'm amazed, but I'm not amazed. How can I put it? I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised. I'm shocked. I'm just not surprised.
This is who they are. This is who they are. Hey, Garth. This is who they are.
Honestly, we better get ready because what I saw last night was just a telltale sign that this place is really about to heat up. And it's summertime, no pun intended, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you guys were talking about it, how everyone wants to plan something for June 14th. And you know,
Hmm.
they're specifically saying no king, and
That
Sister
was
Shaw
next,
was
Gar.
talking about Sushi was talking about how everyone wants to be in rebellion, and the Most High is not going to be on our favor if we're in rebellion, and
Oh yeah, come
we need
on.
to be in accordance with His word. And He says that the king of the land, you have to follow their rules and their laws, because He put them, like Minister Rick said, He put these people in charge for a reason, and obviously, you know, uh, Orange Man is in power to judge the land, and
Mhm.
I do not see us joining this.
No,
yep,
we're not. But
no,
I
definitely
have the
not.
article. I do. So Sophie Clark. This is from Newsweek, and this was just, I think, like a couple minutes ago. The No Kings protest against Donald Trump and his administration is set to be the largest nationwide mobilization since Trump took office, according to organizers. There are 1,800 protests planned across the country for June 14th.
I don't know if there's gonna be any in Jersey, but yeah, I'm not going outside. It's a
No,
Saturday.
it
I have
showed like
never
a lot
seen
of
so
places.
many inducements in my life coming from your neck of the
That's what I
woods.
wanted to show you. If y'all see that? You
Yo,
don't know if there's
nah,
gonna be any in
Wow.
New Jersey? Take your pick, Garth. I think there was
I'm sure they were leading protests in Spain and Portugal. Them Hebrews up there were talking about, hey, we have laws here. We're citizens here, and they were leading protests, and they still that Inquisition still got them. So hey,
Mhm.
it is what it is.
We are
and
not involving ourselves in this. And I've never
No
seen
way.
so much inducements for that. That it's like they know we have an affinity for protesting, not because we enjoy protesting, but we can't stand to see injustices. They
Yeah.
know this. That's why they're so. It's like a protest and a protest and a protest and a protest. And I'm like, what is going on? But who remembers though the Illuminati card game? I don't know if anybody remembers that
I
they did
remember that.
say that there will be an explosion of protests. And it's like, we're literally here. I've never seen so many protests in my life, and protests organized not by us.
No, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
well, it's
Exactly.
our history. Look, we rose up against the Greeks and won somewhat. Rose up against the Romans. We have a
Hmm.
history of going up against the greatest empires. You got a line to cross with us, and you cross the line, it just don't matter. We will go on, but at this supernatural thing, our stand down against our nature, we're always going to raise on that turn. It doesn't matter, but
Hey, listen,
that's not where we
You
are.
had Daniel's three friends.
This is a supernatural thing that we're
Hmm.
standing down. We already know.
yeah,
So this,
the
but
thing about Daniel is you didn't see Daniel going out in the streets, cursing Babylon. He always went and fasted and
Exactly.
prayed to the Most High to judge
Exactly.
them,
yeah,
and
No, but I'm
that's what
talking
we
about
see.
the actual protesting. You had the three boys that stood
Oh
up
yeah,
in
yeah,
Babylon. That was the first superpower. The second one was the Medes and the Persians. Daniel protested by saying, "You know what? Feed me to the lions if you're going to have to. If that's how it's going to have to be, that's how it's going to have to be."
if that's
And the
your
Most
law,
High
yeah.
kept it, right? But it was every protest that we had that was significant was peaceful until it became not.
uh, Abraham. If you know the book of Jasher, Abraham was thrown into a fiery furnace.
Yes, he was.
That's why. That's why he got
Yeah,
all the wealth. He was. Remember, I was so impressed that he gave him the wealth to go because, and his that's how Lot got orphaned. His father got killed in there with Nimrod. He took his nephew Lot with him. So it's a lot, that once you get past the redacted Bible that these people have given us. They had a slave Bible long before the slave Bible they had over here.
Hmm.
the canon,
Yes.
the canon that they put in there. So hey. So we're gonna be all right, but we just have to. This is key. You've got the two sticks have to be brought together, and I see precious few people doing that. It's going to get very uncomfortable here, and somebody.
I would say we're coming together. It's slow. It's you got to understand, yeah. They had centuries of pulling us apart. If we're going to be honest, considering how long they've had us separate, we are actually moving back together at a rapid pace.
Yes,
We
we
are.
actually are.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, we
Well,
are.
So
you know
I
something?
am encouraged by that,
Well,
to
that's the
be honest
Bible.
with
The
you.
word says the harvest is great, so workers are few. So, but it's
Okay,
still gonna
wait a
get
second.
done.
Wait, sorry, Pat. Sorry, Minister Rick.
But
I got the biggest of the biggest troublemakers here
Oh no.
coming to the stage. Yakoba of the earth.
oh man, the fire starter. Oh my
Brother
goodness.
Yakoba. Oh my
I
gosh,
thought, Brother
today was the
Yakoba,
day.
I
I
got to
thought
buy some more of your books. I've been giving them to these Hebrew congregations. I gave Jacoba's books and to the because to let them know that we're not going back to Palestine. That's been my project against these Hebrews. We ain't going to Palestine. That ain't Jerusalem. Oh, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
What's up, fam?
Yakoba, oh my gosh, it's so good to hear you.
Shalom, Brother Yakoba. I know you've been busy. I know you've been busy. That's why I wasn't bothering you with some things. We got to talk offline because there are some things I'm trying to do because I want to send some folks books over to places and spaces. So I need to get with you about that. So I just want to put that on out there. But um shout out again to you, Minister Yakoba. You've called this. I make no bones about it. You've called it. This was gonna happen. I was just explaining the mechanisms of how it's gonna happen. because now the mechanisms are here. And tell me what you think about the No Kings protests. Please give us your word. And for the panel, please do not interrupt. Thank you.
Well, this happened on the 14th, right? And isn't Trump's parade on the 14th as well, right? And his birthday, right?
Mm.
And what I think is happening is that, because this military parade that Trump is having is really a reallocation of military resources, which is why he brought the Marines in, right? And so, this is the best way to move the tanks around the country and position them under the guise of a parade. So, rumor is, and I mentioned this on my show about the 4th of July, they're expecting another, event 201 like pre-COVID, right? And so, I mean, all of this stuff seems to be coming together, and it amazes me that nobody, the ones who in our circles, we all get it, right? But I'm like, your families and the outside of your families, all of them, I'm like, they living their life like it was, 2012. I'm like, it just boggles my mind.
Well, here's the reality of what's happening. And I'm glad you touched in on this. I believe that they're mobilizing, and not just mobilizing, they're deploying, right? So this is a deployment of hardening the nation's capital. Because as I had stated earlier, look, you have protests, political dissidents, right? It's coming to now local or civilian disruptions, insurgencies. Then from insurgencies, you then have an organization of political rallying, which then turns into civil war. Because then you would then have a nation that has stated, or excuse me, not nation, but states that have stated, we are not allowing for a dictatorship to form. So there's a rallying cry that's there. And I believe we saw that this week with Governor Gavin Newsom basically kind of laying down that framework. And I don't think people were really they really understood what he was trying to say because, quote unquote, from the movie Civil War 2024, quote unquote, that Western Federation.
Bro, Karis, I'm sorry to cut you off, but that was literally in the back of my mind. I'm like, this is the plot of of civil war. And again, like the president also was like a figure of the Orange Man in that movie as well.
So the troops are to fight against secession. So these are Union troops or Fort Sumter. The troops are to fight against, make sure nobody leaves, no state leaves.
No, well, you do have that, but again, what's going on, and as we explained it, there's going to be a couple different triggers that are going to be pulled, because constitutionally, there's a couple of states that have already said that if the debt limit gets beyond a certain threshold, like 40 trillion, they're pulling the cord. We showed that a couple of months ago with New Hampshire as one of those states. And if New Hampshire goes, then a couple of other states are going. So this is really the strong man that will be then, being instituted. And this, to me, all right, Brother Koba, what do you think is going to be June 14th? What do you believe is going to be stated June 14th?
Well, I can't look. I personally, anything can happen, but if you look at what the scenario has been in the conditioning through the media, it is civil war. And my brother and I was talking about how Texas has always been positioned to fulfill its role as in the movie Civil War, because Texas has its own grid, independent from the rest of the country. Texas now has its own stock exchange, right? Which wasn't needed, right? If you already had one in New York. But if New York is going to disappear or something's going to happen, right, then the government's going to shift. The continuity of government may come here, or Texas might become the head of the Southern Alliance. So here's the funny thing. If there is no United States of America as per the Constitution, because Trump didn't cause a civil war, then guess what? There is no more debt, right? Because there is no more United States.
It administratively dissolves as a quote unquote corporation. So now, then the nations of the world are going to get mad. They're going to be like, somebody's paying for this. Sorry, go ahead,
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, that just was going to happen.
Yeah, just because you go away doesn't mean that long-standing debt goes away. That's why I believe that when people are like, and you can quote me on this, Jacob, because this is now in your lane of Jeremiah 50 and 51. That the people here, the soldiers here, are going to be bent over like a woman in labor.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yep. And remember, 51 says that they're going to be the enemy's going to be all over this country like caterpillars, and that every person that's here is going to be satisfied with the wealth of America. So that's how they're going to get their money back, right?
What about our money? Our reparations? Getting our reparations at a liquidation sale?
Well, see, that's the question there, brother. How that works, right? I mean, the Bible says in Genesis 15 that we're going to come out with great substance, but the question is the timing, right? Because, like Genesis 15 is I think it incorporates all of the diaspora, even though we're like the kickoff, right? Once we go into the wilderness, right, we go back to the continent. And then, something going to happen. And then the rest of the family from around the world going to start coming in. And we see in Isaiah 60, they bring us on ships. They give us gold, they give us silver, and they give us all. We could see that in Isaiah 60, but we don't really see us coming out with money or wealth out of Babylon. At least I don't see it, right? Whether it be in Revelations 18, Jeremiah 50, 51, we don't see us coming out with money. We're told to flee. Right. So I think we're like the catalyst, right? Because guess what? The Bible also said that Judah going to go back first so that Ephraim won't have an up on us. Right. So I'm paraphrasing, but that's how I see it. I don't think we're going to necessarily come out of here with wealth because we're going to be running for our lives. Isn't that what the scripture says? Flee the daughter of Babylon, run for your lives. Right. Don't seem like we're running with money. So that's just how I see it.
Well, yeah, and I don't think people understand to get a reparations payment and the amount of gold that you would need to be, dragging with you. Ain't nobody gonna be running with 200 pounds of gold You can do that as much as you want. Be looking like, how'd he die? He died of gold.
Yeah,
like,
and not only that, think of this. How do we run with money and wealth, right, in a collapsing system?
Yeah.
Right. Babylon is collapsing and is going to be under attack. How do we handle? How do they handle the logistics of getting us out of here? Where we're, okay, give us our money and we're gonna leave. I just don't see it. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it.
Well, exactly, and that's going to be the most massive logistics effort. I believe this. Whenever you
and where is Chantel? Why she leave after I get on?
I don't know. She got intimidated.
She said she had to go. But I see how I see how now, especially with Jacob show, and we're talking about it now, how they're gonna use digital AI to fast track all this logistic, all this logistical movement of people and stuff like that. It's hard to move millions of people without any of that technology. Whatever they call it, I don't know what it's called. It starts with a P. You probably know you call it the Paris.
What, the posse comitatus?
No, the rollout for the specific technology where they're going to be able to just track you digitally, like
Palantir.
Palantir.
Yes.
Palpatine. Yeah. No. Palantir.
Oh yeah, I got me some Palantir stock.
So
I knew that was coming. I wish I had more though.
Oh yeah. That was a Peter Thiel.
Peter
stock.
Thiel, yeah.
And those are the that's that South African. I believe, just in my opinion, I believe that when it's all kind of said and done, a lot of the nations will try to then push out their folks from these different, these islands, these different areas that, obviously have been, the front-loaded structures of colonialization, neocolonization. I believe they're going to be pushed into the United States. That will be kind of that multi-generational holding bin. So
I called for Chantel 3 times. She made it back.
Mm-hmm.
I caught the end of that. I was like, oh no. I had to step away. I've actually got to go in a little while, but I just oh my gosh. I thought, if I go, it's gonna look bad, isn't it? And I thought, let me just slip out. And I heard you and I was like, oh no, it did. It looked bad. I'm not avoiding you, Jacob.
Just don't have any type of, YouTube videos. Since you can't tell distance, Jacob, Covenant Awakenings. Oh my goodness.
Do not incite that, Karis. Don't listen to him. I told you, this man, he's a troublemaker. He really is a troublemaker. He calls you a troublemaker. He calls me a troublemaker, but he's the real troublemaker. He is.
Jacob knows I'm a troublemaker behind the scenes. He knows. He knows. But I do good trouble.
Really would like to know how you do good trouble.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Brother Jacoba.
What's up, Minister Rick?
With the fall of Babylon, who is the new power? Are we going into the 10 toes at that at the fall? Will there be a Cyrus there who could maybe affect an exodus in a positive way when Babylon falls, and we have that time between when the 10 toes come in there and have time with our wealth before they come back after us in Africa?
Yeah, I mean, the BRICS nations want a multipolar order, right? That's what they want instead of this unipolar. And so we're definitely going into the 10-toe kingdom. At some point they give their power to the beast. Now, one of the things I was thinking about is, how Trump is causing all this mess, and he looks like the Antichrist. He looks like the villain. more than likely the person who's going to be the Antichrist is going to be the one who comes in riding on a white horse and try to save everybody, you know, and restore peace and order, right? Whoever that is.
So the scripture says, in the days of those kings, then will he establish a kingdom.
Yeah.
So is that our Exodus and then over there that he established?
Oh yeah. We look, like I said in my show yesterday, in my opinion, the next big event, let's say after, you know, the attack, because there's an attack coming against Babylon, but we leaving, right? I see no other option now. I'm not putting no dates and no times because because I don't know that. But I'm just, like I said, I'm looking at the signs and I'm looking at the contractions. Personally, I don't see how we can stay here, right? And so some of our people don't realize that we are the targets, right? It's not the Mexicans, it's not the Latinos, it's not the immigrants. This is their way and run to get to us.
Well, nobody's talking about the people that he said you see America crawling with insects like locusts at that time of the defeat. There's a whole lot of Chinese that came in this country and absorbed by their community. Nobody's saying anything about them.
Yeah, and did you see the 2 Chinese who got caught for smuggling in bioweapons?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The fungus thing to mess with the crops. And I was going to say that. Listen, whenever you have a collapse, and I'm going to, so I want to preface this. A lot of people think that war just has to deal with, kinetic activities, explosions, things of that nature, things that you see on the movies. Yes and no. Yes and no. Warfare isn't just what you see on the movies. Sorry. You actually have warfare via economic warfare. I believe America had engaged in economic warfare and they lost economic warfare because then Trump is saying that, that they got a new deal. They got a new deal with China. I don't know what that deal is.
Oh, China put that to bed.
Yeah, I don't know what that deal is. I don't know what that deal is. Maybe Trump sold off parts of the United States.
Yeah.
What if he gave them access to everybody's what's it called? Your birth certificates.
I don't think so. What if he? Here's my opinion. What if Trump gave him the West Coast?
People say they have the Long Beach port already.
Wait, that's interesting. So that's why everything focused right now in LA, because the Chinese is getting it.
Yes, but
I can see that.
I think the Chinese are going to get all the West Coast, in my opinion. What if the trade deal isn't actually a trade deal at all? What if the trade deal was actually a redistribution? Remember,
dude, that makes sense.
You see what I'm saying? Remember, people are trying to talk about, and I saw this on Phil Scott, African Diaspora News Channel, and he said, "Hey, look, people don't like to mention that Mexico sold off parts of their land, their territory.
They did?
Yes, because they were in debt. They were in a bind. The only way that you can get out of debt, when we were discussing this like a couple months ago, back in, I believe, November, December, if my memory serves me correctly.
Sell off your assets.
We were talking about this balkanization when they try to say, America's going to be the 51st, or Canada's going to be the 51st state. And I'm like, no, I think Canada's about to gain about 16 or 17 states.
And that's China owns those treasury notes. They say these countries bought. Japan owns a bunch of treasury notes, and China owns those treasury notes. They can, they can come over here to where my money.
And the irony is that it's mainly the East that owns that a substantial amount. That's the irony. And then when you understand where this beast system is rising from, it's kind of crazy to me. It's even more crazy that others can't see it.
Do y'all remember when we were saying that this looks like the sale of a company and a dismantling of a company that
I remember that. I remember.
Yes.
Stop
And
that. We have
now
the best country money can buy.
yep. But it makes sense that from what Karis was saying that yeah, they might be getting part of this country. That's what it's looking like to me, because I mean, we see that everything is being dismantled, the security mechanisms, even though he's supposed to be making America great again. He's really reducing the status with the terrorists and the economy. Everything is being dismantled. And yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, did we see the Chinese came over to California? Was it last year or the year before? Like they were scoping out California, and I think Gavin Newsom was holding.
They fixed up San Francisco to look
Yes.
good when they
Yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah,
wanted to see what they were purchasing.
Yeah.
Let Biden know at all. They didn't let Biden know.
Well, you have to look at how we got the hegemony. We blew up everybody else's factories. So that's why all this saber rattling. We blew up everybody else's. Germany was a rival in Europe. They still were the strongest economy in Europe till they got trashed again. But we blew up everybody else's factories, and then we became the hegemon because we were the only people. We had two oceans protecting us, which no longer protect us, and we blew everybody else's. So the default war is how they got it.
So let me throw this one on out there. Look, I'm not saying I believe in that person's prophecy or anything else, but there is a Japanese lady. I know you've seen this.
Oh, I've seen it.
I'm talking about.
Did I send that to you? Did I send that to you?
No, this is from Paul and Adrian.
Oh, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it as well. The woman that did the manga.
Yes.
The card.
What
Yeah.
did she say? What did she say? July 5th. Now, I'm not putting any stock in any dates, but it does seem like a lot of this stuff is really, really interesting.
It is.
Because here's the reality. If they try to pull us on in, the ultimate goal is they pull us on in because why? They can trigger to the rest of the world, hey, look, see what's happening when black folks entered this. We became their number one target. That was what that was what they were trying to quote unquote show. Because remember, we're the victims. They don't care about us, but they always try to parade us, right, for their political goals and efforts. Now we need to jump on in and save them.
Rescue
Who the Chinese?
No, us.
Yeah, who gonna save us though?
Well, here's also the thing. Remember all the deals that Russia and China have had over in the continent.
Oh yeah.
Do you get what I'm telling you now?
The continent they say we're taking our people back.
What the Captain Traore said. Do y'all remember what Captain Traore said back in what was February, March time frame? That Trump needs to leave African Americans alone. Remember he said that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Gee, I wonder why. Do you not think
not their friend?
Because the rest of the world sees and knows what's under. They see what's happening. Shalom, brother Eric. Shalom.
Shalom, brother Karis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Blessings to the panel.
Shalom, brother Eric.
Hey, brother Eric.
Blessings to everybody. So, listen, I kid you not. Man, y'all was saying how the Asians was scoping out California. They ain't just scoping out California,
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, like my sister-in-law, she's here from Georgia, right? And whenever she come here, I take her around to all her, Caribbean spots so she can get food. So when she get ready to leave, she'll take it back with her because there ain't too many Caribbean spots in Georgia.
Mm-mm.
I promise you yesterday, every place I took her, there was an Asian man with a clipboard walking up and down the block.
That's not good.
He blocked one of them in. He got out of his car, walked over to another car with this Caucasian man was in. And they're sitting there. I said, well, okay, well, because I said, wait a minute, this guy just got out of that car and went to us. Oh, they must be having a meeting. Sure enough, him and his clipboard, they sitting there. Now I blocked them in because trying to park in Brooklyn is crazy. So I just happened to double park in front of them.
Prospect Park, bro. I'm sorry.
Say again.
Prospect Park, you were at?
No. I was near Eastern Parkway on Nostrand.
Oh, okay. I know.
So there's a roadie spot.
I know where you're at.
Right on Nostrand and St. John's. So I go in there and get my sister her stuff. But the whole time, they're literally plotting and scheming. They know something that we don't. They know this place is getting ready to go up in the tinderbox. And I guess for whatever reason or however long, they want to buy up land and buy up, whatever properties they can get. Maybe they don't know the prophecy that this place is going to be destroyed, but they do see that it's going downhill.
Well, usually, how would you honor then any type of land sales and things of that nature? And I would say that honestly, you wouldn't honor anything. So even when people have bought land, they don't need to honor it. You're in a different government.
True, but
you're under a different, honestly, principality for real.
But when the people is greedy and they just want to suck up all the resources, they're not thinking like that.
Mm-hmm. It's like when a business goes under, the last people they tell the employees, they clear it out and just go on the thing like that. Oh, we're going out of business in 2 weeks. We gave you 2 weeks notice, but it was gone before. So,
but
I came to get my check 3 months after the business is gone.
Isn't that a good time to buy up stuff when things is going? In your mind, you figure you can build it up and it's going to be profitable to you.
Exactly.
If they're down for, but you're a win for.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Maybe that's their mindset.
Mm-hmm. That's only the Most High doesn't have a fire sale because he said the prophecy says no one's going to be able to live in Babylon. Nobody, everybody, the husbandmen, everybody's getting up out of here.
Maybe that's another way for them losing their wealth. You buying up something that's worthless. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I just wanted to say, if you remember that movie Batman, when the Joker was buying up all the drug dealers' property and swindling them all out of the money, and what did he do? He burned all the money.
Just cause.
That's judgment. To me, that's judgment. You buying up something that's going to be worthless.
So let me ask y'all, when it comes to the scriptures, and obviously I believe that America is Babylon, but when it talks about no man going to inhabit it anymore, they're going to go by and they're just going to see smoke and only like the carnivores are going to be running around, whatever the scripture says. What if that's just a particular city? Because here's the thing. Do y'all think the whole continent we call America will be destroyed? Or because, like, for instance, technically part of Texas and some of the other places, New Mexico, are part of Mexico, right? So, it's like we're thinking borders, but biblically wise, what if the area that's not going to be inhabited, like, let's say New York, right? That's sort of like the picture of Babylon with, the Statue of Liberty and that whole thing. And, it really is the representation of America, right? Just a thought.
I know what you're saying. I was going to just quick. I was going to say that from whenever I read the scriptures and I see that what I envisage is a lot of what they actually have been telling us. When you see their their apocalyptic films and stuff like that, and it's usually the major cities, but everywhere outside, and you still have people there, but the population is so sparse, it's ridiculous. I kind of see that the majority are going to be gone. The majority of land is going to be destroyed. The major cities are going to be destroyed. I believe that there will be a few people, and they will try to form their own tribes and create their own system and so on and so forth. They'll try to live. We've seen that in what's the other thing that they had on Prime? and it's from a game as well. I forgot. Oh my gosh.
Well, I believe the Most High is quite capable
Fallout.
of taking out
That's
a
what you're
nation.
talking
That's
about.
it. Fallout. Literally
Okay.
Fallout. Yeah, it is literally Fallout. And I kind of see that there's too many scriptures. There's too many texts that tells us that there's going to be some level of destruction, you know. But I do see that there's going to be some measure of land still available and some people. But I also believe in what the scripture says, where it says that all these curses that were on you are going to be on them, and one of the curses we were taken, they're going to be taken.
And see that, and that's the point that you're making, is that if there's going to be slaves who enslaved us, there's going to be enslaved under us that's coming from this nation, then the whole place can't be destroyed at one time, right? Because they got to come to Africa, let's say, and serve underneath us. So, you know, maybe it's not this totalitarian of every single part of this continent is destroyed. Maybe the Bible's talking about a specific area, and it's sort of like what we see in the Bible, you know, because I believe the Bible happened on what we call the African continent, that a lot of that stuff that we see, we're dealing with a certain region, and maybe that's the case here as well.
Oh, brother,
Jacob, like me, what's his servants?
Brother, let me ask you this. God is quite capable. The Most High is quite capable of taking out the whole country. And we talked about a stone being cast into the sea. There's an island off of Africa. They said if they ever have a landslide, it'll send a tsunami that'll wipe out the East Coast. And there's a fault there.
But
we have the Yellowstone.
Doesn't the sea actually also refer to people groups and nations?
Okay, well,
right?
That's just one element.
We have
the Deagle report. We have the Yellowstone caldera.
Mm-hmm.
You have a West Coast, the New Madrid Fault. We have the West Coast and things like that by natural means, like Sodom and Gomorrah. To take God, he can take out the whole country. That's not a problem for him at all. The element, they say, if the land can vomit us out of Israel, the land can literally vomit these people out. So I'm just saying, I don't put that past the goal. You know, I think a lot of times we think about the plantation can never go down. No, God can take out this whole country easily.
I believe
I agree with that as well.
There was such bloodshed of our blood. I think the Most High is going to wipe this place out, meaning it's not going to be, it generated so much wealth for the world. This nation here, on our blood, sweat, and tears, right? I believe it's not, when he says it's going to be wiped, it's not going to be worth anything. Just like it generated all that wealth, it's not going to be worth anything. Yeah, people are going to be here, but you're going to be here when
penniless and poor and struggling. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Just like when Adam and Eve sinned, then they became thorns and thistles on the flowers.
It's going to be a curse to them.
It's going to be cursed. Exactly. The land is going to be cursed. It's not going to produce like it used to produce before. I believe that's what it means. Not that it's going to wipe it totally off the map. It's just going to be worthless.
I think we are in agreement there as well, Eric. That's exactly what I feel as well. Like the nuclear fallout as well in certain areas are kind of like a no-go. We've seen this in so many films. They look. They know the scriptures. Some of them better than us.
Let me recalibrate this for you. The nuclear areas can be used if they utilize a low yield nuke. Yes, they can. And
that is true.
It's like between 30 to 60 days, and then you can bulldoze over it. So then you actually have minimal levels of nuclear radiation or that heat, that radioactive heat. Yep, go ahead.
And here's the other thing is that we have to think that, because a lot of us thinking it can happen all at once, but what if, let's say, if it is the whole thing, it could be over time that the whole continent ends up, becoming uninhabited.
It's so funny. I was about to say that as well. I was going to say, when we read scripture, sometimes we read it thinking that it's like this is instantaneous. Like when you read Luke 24 verse 21, some people don't understand. That's going over centuries.
Yeah.
That's centuries from the time we had to flee and was kicked out, and Jerusalem was destroyed, all the way up to slavery. That's centuries of one verse literally has centuries in it. And I feel sometimes when we read scriptures, we're not understanding that sometimes it takes a while. In fact, if we're gonna be honest, I believe that the desolation of America has already begun, because what's going on with your topsoil? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like it's eroding. So it's kind of started.
Infrastructure all crumbling down, everything
Right,
falling apart.
right. So it's not going to be for anybody.
Have y'all noticed that everybody wants to leave? Not just black folk, but white folks want to leave too.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, white folks are literally saying, "Look, they were trying to leave."
We were talking about that the other day.
They were trying to leave to go to Mexico. They were trying to leave to go to all these other places, and now the visas are now required, and their passports really aren't honored like that. But I wanted to touch back on what was stated, because remember, Donald Trump has always said that he's the king of what? Bankruptcies, the king of debt. You go into debt, you go into bankruptcy, so you can what? Emerge stronger. What do bankruptcies look like? What does that liquidation look like? Well, even though he's had properties, he's also had properties that were sold. It's the same thing. I believe he's going to be selling off properties. I believe that the U.S., has him here to then sell off properties. And, listen, when people say that things are desolate, well, if you're going to be sold off, hypothetically speaking, not saying it's going to happen, but hypothetically speaking, if you're going to get sold off to either Mexico or China, and let's say you're going to get sold off to China, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay there and be like, well, you want to know what? Ni hao, hong chi. You're going to be looking at red note, trying to figure things out? No. And because why? Because that is not going to be your cultural.
That's it, Karis. That's it, Karis.
I want to say something.
I'm gonna make a deal. He says, I'm going over here. Every country goes, I'm making a deal here. I'm making a deal here. I'm talking
because I think he's trying to find buyers.
He's the business. Yeah, he's going around. He's the executor of the dissolution. He says, I'm going to China. We're going to get a new deal. This is a bad deal. We're going. He's literally doing that. He's executing the bankruptcy, the terms before our eyes.
Yep.
Karis, you mentioned something. You said desolation and trying to build up and it's so funny, because while you were saying that, all I kept hearing was Malachi 1 verse 4, where it says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahuwah hath indignation forever. And the indignation is just a hatred and forever. And how better than to show it on your country? It's like kind of like what happened to us. Like nobody is inhabiting Jerusalem. We know that. It says that, so it can't possibly be that place. Also, it says this.
I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into this, but go ahead, finish your thoughts, Sister Chantel.
Okay, I was just going to say, all I'm saying is that I kind of feel like I'm not saying that it's going to be completely destroyed. What I am saying is that I feel like he's trying to throw down or break down so that he can build up again, so that he can do what he wants to do, so that he can sell off what he wants to sell off. I'm talking about, your president and whatever, but it's like, while they're trying to do that, the Most High has his plans, and he already knows what he's going to do and what's going to be established. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, now think about this, and I'll let folks comment. But think about this: whenever they are forced to leave a property, whenever they're forced to be evicted, do they ever leave things nicely?
No, they
Or do
don't.
they destroy it? Will they take the
Or
lighter
sure.
and then they'll exactly? Will they
Mhm.
destroy their own stuff? I'm
Yep.
not going to have them living in this, and they'll destroy it. I believe that is why you're having these mobilizations occurring, because why? So then they can start to get to these other places, i.e., these buildings that are going to be federal buildings. And if you have, so a lot of folks don't understand how you actually have governmental land transfers. You literally clear out of the building that the government had, or you transition folks on in. Are we seeing, just hypothetically, but are they using the fact of, could they be using the fact of this immigration to move folks in under the cover of darkness?
You mean like the South Afrikaners?
No, I'm talking about to move in potentially either Chinese officials as part of the sale.
The new owners.
The new owners.
Well,
We're having an open house.
Asians been
We're
buying
having an
up
open house. We're showing the house.
the Asians been buying up the United States.
No. I'm not just talking about the agents. I'm talking about actual government Chinese officials.
Mm-hmm.
They already have the police element over here that's policing their people in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have their own police force here in New York. It's an underground. I'm telling you.
Yes, they do. I remember hearing about that.
Police force the Asians have right here in New York. I mean, it is crazy the deception that's going on.
What if it all began long before we're seeing it with the Clintons?
What if it began in 2020? What if that began, honestly, in the 1990s? You're right, with the Clintons. That was really the first quote unquote trade deal. But I also believe this. I also believe, look, America hasn't just defaulted. America's been in default. Don't think that America hasn't defaulted. It has defaulted.
1913.
But it cannot print more monies. Because why?
America.
Because really the money is worthless, in the overseas capacity. The money is becoming devalued. When I talk about the shipping container, and it's like, hallelujah, we got this thing on the water, and now we're coordinating for the ground transportation. And let me tell you this, we have to coordinate for the ground transportation in CD, because anything with dollars is now becoming devalued. That's what's happening to your dollar. Yeah.
Did you ever think you would see that day come?
I knew it was coming. I know.
As we're awake now, but I'm saying when we were younger, before, like about 15 years ago.
What about the pound sterling? Yeah, it had to happen.
Oh, don't even.
I don't want our family to be worrying about their finances and how they're going to get here and there. This dollar is being destroyed. Yeah, the Most High is going to do something supernatural. You understand? Because if all you have is the U.S. dollar and it's not worth anything, how are you going to be able to pass that dollar and get anything? It's worthless.
Bingo.
So you have to understand that the Most High is going to do something supernatural in moving us as a group. It ain't going to be with the dollar.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I have these discussions all the time because I have to talk to people and explain to people what it is. It's like passing an IOU note that you will have knowledge transfer in this brain and in what we've learned in our experiences, so that we can help you to build that up. Right? We know what right looks like. And we know what the wrong that we don't want to bring. We know what infrastructure looks like. We know what economic development looks like. But we also know what wickedness looks like, and we don't want to bring that here. And they know what that is too, and therefore they don't want that brought on over.
Don't bring the mess. You have a house note, you have a car note, and you got a Federal Reserve note. They're all debt. We're passing IOUs, and the jig is up. So I'm trying to get something. I've been on a spending spree because I've been trying to get everything I need for whatever ministry I'm going to do now while the money is still worth something. That's part of my economic situation, because if you're stuck with that paper at the end of the game's over.
I mean, what was it, Tanzania? I'm sorry, let me cut you off. Was it Tanzania when the president said, listen, exchange your US dollars while you can, because there's a deadline and you won't be able to use it.
That wasn't just Tanzania. That was actually Ruto that said that.
Yeah, it was Ruto.
Okay,
that was Ruto. And I mean,
and
that's
he wasn't
Africa's
playing.
biggest
And
puppet
he
besides
killed the US dollar in this country. So
Yes,
now if it's worthless, you know, and you have all these dollars and you can't do anything with it, how are you going to live? How are you going to be able to, you know,
you don't.
You can't. So obviously the Most High is going to do something supernatural, or just like a minister, Minister Rick just said, use it while it's worth something.
Yeah,
it's everything you need while you can, while it's valued. Outside, because once, because think about when we first left Egypt. Everybody wasn't a millionaire, billionaire. We was literally slaves. What did we have? We had to spoil the nations to have something to move out. So why would the Most High not do the same thing? And you know, if he did, the scripture says he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So if he did it then, why wouldn't he do it again?
Your brother Yakoba, could we get a special status? I was thinking years ago, the dollar dump for the diaspora. You know, if these nations are going to dump the dollar, give it to the diaspora, and maybe they'll accept it. Maybe we'll get a special status, and they're not taking it from anybody else. I'm just saying, if we made a relationship, like getting a shipping container over there and showing grace towards them when our dollars are worth something.
What, like your captivity spray away?
Go ahead.
So here's the thing. With the economy and the money and all that stuff, you know, what I don't understand is that how people don't see that the new economy is already here and it's crypto, right? The new financial system is here and it's crypto. Because there's credit cards, there's loans being done, there's ETFs being issued, all based upon crypto and tokenization. This new system is already here, right? But it's like most of the people are asleep. They don't understand that the new system is here, so they're holding on to the dollars because that's all they know. Just like with everything else, right? It's normalcy bias, right? But they're about to lose everything. And when it comes to the housing, right, it makes sense that when Klaus Schwab said you're gonna own nothing, right, and be happy, is because it's all being sold out. This is the collateral for the default on the loans.
You know,
and
that just
finish what he's going to say, Yakoba.
I'm sorry to cut you off. The digital system has already been in place. I mean, back in the day, you cashed your check, you had money in your pocket. Now you use your debit card. You understand? You use your debit card, your credit card. Most people don't carry cash on them like that. So they was already gearing us up for the digital system. You already in it. You've been in it for the longest just now.
90% of the money transactions are virtual.
Yes.
So
yes.
The only problem is there will be no hard currency, right? No dollars, no pennies, no nickels. It's all going to be electronic. They're going to control and track every single thing.
Is Brother Garth still here? Is Brother Garth still here? Can you? Can you make a QQA cryptocurrency? Could we make a cryptocurrency, a diaspora, Exodus cryptocurrency? Could you construct that?
That's above my pay grade. You'd have to ask.
Years ago, when I was a kid, I remember talking to some an older gentleman, Jamaican guy, and he turned around and said to me, he said, they're going to get rid of the money. And I sat down and I listened to him, and he said, they're going to get rid of the money. He says, what they're doing systematically is they're decreasing the value of the money. They're also decreasing the size of the money. That's why your notes went from big paper sheets to smaller and smaller and smaller. There's no more tuppence and these big old pennies and so on and so forth. He says, but the older generation, they need to feel their money. But as the older
Yeah.
generation leaves, you're going to start seeing less and less of that money. He said what we're going to start seeing is, he said, you see, when you look at the game world and you buy little tokens inside your playing your games, he said that's what you're going to be, that's what's going to happen. Now he was explaining cryptocurrency without actually using the terminologies and so on and so forth. And it's so funny because when you said that, I literally just remembered, oh yeah, this brother said this years ago. I think he died though, but he said, yeah, they're going to get rid of the money and they have to do it slowly because they're trying to transition. He said it's not for this generation, it's not even for the next. He said it's for the generation that comes probably after you or after your grandchildren. He said that's what this money system is going to be.
I'm going to propose a model. Let me ask Papua New Guinea. Real quick, there was that country. These are melanated people. These Melanesian people. They look like us. They're in the Papua New Guinea. They have seashell money. They said their money that and they and everybody can gather seashells, and they take regular currency too. But their shops, you can come pull up with seashells. So it's something they determine. This is going to be a value. This is going to be our circulation. Everybody can get it, and their economy works. The definition of power, it means when you can designate is what is money.
Yes.
That's the power of the Rothschilds. And we have that towards us, whatever in the African diaspora, we're going to designate this is money and this is going to be our circulation. Then we can base our economy on that.
So let me tell you,
it was rice.
Go ahead, Jacoba. Go ahead, Jacoba.
If you try to create your own cryptocurrency, they're gonna make it illegal, right? They're gonna say you're printing money, generate your own income. Once they when they finish with the laws for the new financial system, that's all they're waiting for to make it mainstream, is to finish the laws that says what a currency is. So it don't matter. You could create your diaspora crypto, is gonna be illegal. Right. And you could trade with it amongst yourself and nobody's going to take it. Right. The only ones and this is why if you look at crypto and where they're going, everything is going to be tokenized. Right. I mean, gold is going to be tokenized. Yep. Right. Animals, whatever you name it, going to have a token, which is, going to be tied to the market of the beast system. You won't be able to buy, trade, or sell because they know where everything is. Right. And so this is what's happening. And that's why, be honest, even if you didn't believe in the scriptures and you believe, if you use common sense and seeing where things going, in the end, the only free place is going to be Africa. Why? Because Africa is not fully electronic and have all of the infrastructure to handle a fully digitized AI-run drone managed society, which is why the beast system is partly strong, according to Daniel, partly strong and partly weak. That 10 toes that's going to be formed is going to be partly strong, partly weak, because Africa's still going to have to be a part of the global economy because everybody want our stuff. We're going to be trading, right? It's just that we won't be tied into their legal system with the mark of the beast, where you won't be able to buy, trade, or sell.
Well, yeah, and let me kind of give you a little bit more of a breakdown on that, right? Last year in Kazan, Russia, they had the BRICS Pay system. The BRICS Pay has your BRICS Pay, your BRICS Clear, and your BRICS Enbridge, right? So this allows for the integrations of systems, but not everybody has to go down to the nitty gritty of the BRICS Pay. See, everybody had to go down to the nitty gritty of the dollar. It's going to be basically at your level it's your level of comfort and being in the system. Now, I believe that for these nations that took us into captivity, these nations are going to have the beast system come all the way down to their level, where I mean, like, they themselves are an actual Internet of Things tokenized entity with every cell mapped to where, what did you eat today? How did you eat? What was your caloric intake? What was your metabolism? All that craziness. I believe that that's going to be on the horizon. Now, for those nations, now holistically to then be able to, buy and sell and trade, they'll be able to do it regionally. That's part of what you have with the Agenda 2063. And you have to understand, we won't have that kind of quote unquote shock to the system that people think we're going to have. I believe that we're going to be able to create the infrastructure in place to where we are providing our subject matter expertise and our knowledge transfer that then supports us being able to get to these places. And it's not that, well, we got to run because we're scared and we're going to hide. Look, that's the worst thing to do. You don't want to do that. That's not what you do. But you come on over and you say, hey, we're going to come on over and we're going to help you with X, Y, and Z so we can facilitate X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z. So there is a different model to that has to take place. So then we are able to move and negotiate and do things in a more collaborative and calibrated way, so we can then have the maximum benefit and the maximum value for our people. Yes, I talked about that last year about a crypto. I talked about that last year about having a gold sponsored exchange. The problem is we can't do that, as Jacoba had stated. However, there are countries that can do that. And now you're starting to see countries that are now willing to have that conversation. It's just that now we have to come correct with them and say, hey, we can now talk about X, Y, and Z and talk about X, Y, and Z, because honestly, they weren't having that.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. Africa is, because we are a different people, we're going to have some technology, sort of like what Ibrahim has with the passports. They got electronic passports and digital IDs and all that stuff. But we're not going to be fully integrated into their beast system, right? That's going to be the difference from what I see. And as far as someone was saying about an underground economy, that's impossible. I mean, in Africa, I don't think we're going to have to worry about an underground economy in Africa, but the rest of the Gentile nations, they're not going to have an underground economy. You know why? Because everything's tokenized, right? You can't have that house. You can't have that car. You can't have that hamburger because, you weren't approved for it. We don't see where it's on the blockchain, right? They can't track it. So therefore, they're not, you're not going to be able to do anything. So that's where you won't be able to buy, trade, or sell.
Yep, exactly.
Like playing Sims.
It ain't happening in the land of our captivity.
No, because the land was captive.
But let me throw my quip on out there because I got to. Look, but that's why I say neo-diplomacy is the new currency, and it truly is. So when I tell you, look, I'm training folks because there are things that's getting ready to happen and occur that I need help in these neo-diplomatic engagements. This isn't just something that's going to be in one country, two countries. It's going to be all around the continent. And as I said earlier, I had to slow down on, committing to things because I need to have a core of people that I've trained to be able to do what I need to do what needs to be done. Right now, the only person that I truly have trained in this is literally Brother Garth.
So until you can put up, you got to shut up.
Well, the thing is that here's the reality. They want us to do the work right now. The problem is they can't pay us in USD. They want us to be engaged in what they're doing right now. The problem is they don't know the creative structures of finance because who can they trust?
Nuggets. Good God. They could dig in the yard for a couple of gold nuggets.
But exactly. But then how do you exchange those gold nuggets? How do you get those gold nuggets to the bank? You see what I'm saying? How do you then collateralize those gold nuggets? See, I believe, and I've said this, I've had meetings with this, there are ways to do it, but the way we have to do it is that you're going to have to do it with time. So there's different formulas. You have net present value, you have net future value, you'll have time and investment, things of that nature.
So here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
What they could do is just like what the West is doing, but like remember Zimbabwe created their gold coins,
Yes.
right? Those same gold coins can be stable coins, right? And so the gold already has a market value within the global economy, right? So they can literally pay us crypto that's backed by gold because they have all the gold. Right. And see, and this is the reason why I do believe Africa probably don't have more than a year, maybe less, before the West tries to invade, because they can't survive without the gold and everything. No. And Africa's starting to, make their stomach hungry by restricting access. And so they got to go in. Right. So we're going to be having something.
Because who's getting the gold right now? Remember, people were getting mad at Traore because Traore's like, I'm going to send my gold over to Russia.
Yeah.
And people are getting mad. Why do you send your gold over to Russia? Calm down. There's a reason for it.
Uh-huh.
Russia is at the middle of BRICS pay. The BRICS pay would then allow for the alternative economy for Burkina Faso to then utilize with China and other nations. Right now, they said the interest in BRICS pay for all these countries, I think they said like it's 70 countries so far and growing. That's literally the divide of the global north and the global south. It's too expensive. Go ahead, Jacoba.
You notice that beast system is all Gentile powers, the same beast system that the Antichrist is in control of, not the Israelites, not Africa. And according to the scriptures, as we see, we coming back together and uniting. So like all of this alignment, because, like Karis was saying, there's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes to try to build that relationship, but, our people, we don't know how to work together. Right. So it's like it makes it difficult. But there's a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I tell you, look, and I'm vocal about what it is that I do, and I have to do it at an extent because let me tell you, do you think that do you think that a lot of people in our community even want this to happen? No, actually, a lot of people in our community want us to continue to be the underclass here. Oh, we missed our chance, we missed our opportunity. Well, see, look at that. You might as well fall in line and just be the forever, tail, and forever trodden underfoot. And that's a lie. And that's why people are scared, because they know that lie is being exposed. And I'm telling you, when I've had these conversations and I've had these discussions, there are nations, not one or two, nations that want to engage. And I have to actually say, well, we can't really even engage like that just yet, because I have to make sure that our people are ready to engage these nations. Because we have to come together. Look, part of uniting, how do you unite? You got to train. How do you train? You got to show people what it is. What's the do's and what's the don'ts? And I know that that's either hard for our people, or people are just saying, hey, it's just going to go like this. No. No.
Isn't it interesting that, people like Kellis, that, the entertainer, she bought a whole bunch, several acres in Kenya, right? People leaving, most of us don't know that a lot of the rich and the wealthy and stuff, they're tipping out. Yeah,
they're gone, and then they get exposés of how they transformed their farm. Yeah, of course.
Yep, exactly.
Of course. They brought in a lot of dollars.
Yep.
And that worked 6 months ago. That worked 90 days ago. Guess what? That doesn't work now.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing the parallel? I came out of the young people of Africa are the force driving the change of these new leaders. And they're military leaders, because you have to be coming against those people. That same demographic we have here would be the ones that enter the land, just as the young people under a certain age. the children that you thought would be a prey enter the land. I don't think we're utilizing them to that. And that's basically what I'm going to do in my retirement, just try and get them on board and ready to go, because I think they will be the ones that enter the land.
Nah, when we were in Burkina Faso, there was mad young soldiers younger than me, maybe like 18, 19, and they were all disciplined. Like we wanted to dap them up and say hello, but a lot of them were like kind of, they never lost their stature, but they kind of acknowledged us. But
you cut out, Brother Garth. Let's hear continuing.
I think my mic is just going in and out. But yeah. And also just to lend to Brother Jacoba's point about they're going to have to go into Africa, don't forget that Ghana now has its own gold board organization where they control all of the transactions going in and out of gold. So that's another huge loss for the West.
And where did they learn that from? They learned that from the Sahel nations, the Sahel states. See, what people think is, well, I'm just gonna be independent and just sit there. No, you got to work. You got to work. You got to come up with different solutions. You got to come up with different programs. You got to come up with different things that are able, that provides the value to the citizens. Look, Traore wants to do a lot of work. However, there's still limitations. How can you do a lot of work with folks that may not have the tools necessary to do the work? And as Brother Garth had stated, look, you're not going to have folks that are going to have about 20, 30, 40 years worth of knowledge and understanding. It's a wealth of knowledge. We bring in a wealth of knowledge. We bring in a wealth of resources that we can then say, hey, we need to order this from X, Y, and Z. We need to plan this for X, Y, and Z. We need to build this with X, Y, and Z. We have all that.
So let me ask Brother Gard a question. Brother Gard, how come these like Botswana, right? He's leaning more towards trail type idea and nationalizing their diamonds and saying that we're no longer giving out resources. You got to build here. How come they don't realize yet that they all need us there, right? The tech, the economics people are here, the technologists are here, the doctors are here. I mean, they should be like working together to try to get us over there. I mean, what you think of that?
Well, honestly, life is lifing right now, and I haven't been able to just look at the news. And I was going to actually say sorry for everyone who was looking at exploring the motherland, but it's going to be on pause indefinitely until, I have like a solid, concrete, stable environment to do the show. But honestly, I feel like they are just like coming together. I mean, the Botswana, all these African nations, I guess, are literally looking at the Sahel, and they are basically trying to emulate them. But I don't know if they really got the message from Ibrahim Traore that the diaspora is the key, missing key part to all this. And I mean, I kind of understand it now because you talk about the history, and you showed us the history about how a lot of our people were in that.
You went out, Garth.
It just keeps on, when the iPhone does the voice for your mic, when it, to do Siri, I don't know, it just keeps on going in and out. But yeah, they are like, Negro land is where the epicenter of this awakening from Africa is coming from. So that's not an accident, but I hopefully they'll understand soon. But Namibia is getting on code. They are also, they're asking for reparations last time I checked from Germany, and they're also, closing out visas to certain people, and they're, reframing all of their laws to make it more favorable for them. So that's a start. But people like Botswana and all these other nations, I guess, since they're basically technically still in that southern Africa region, and they have their own, They have their own membership called the SADC. I don't know exactly what that stands for, but basically all of those nations like Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, they're all under that umbrella of bureaucracy or whatever you want to call it, where they have their own different, political instruments and whatnot.
Yeah, you're going out, Brother Garth. No, Brother Garth is actually stating it correctly. These regional or economic communities, they do have their own kind of bylaws. Now, if Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger had still been under ECOWAS, they would not be allowed to say, we need our African brothers and sisters in the diaspora to come home.
I would never join the ECOWAS nation. I'll never move there. I hope they, break apart.
Yeah, they're collapsing right now. They're actually collapsing as we speak. When you had Togo, that's happening. I think, their president there. I think Cameroon is also having some issues, in Cameroon and Nigeria. If Cameroon falls, Nigeria has problems. Ivory Coast still has some problems, things of that nature, especially with what they're trying to do to destabilize. And they're actively trying to destabilize the Sahel nations. Don't get that twisted. So the reality is that if these countries do say, I want to have our brothers and sisters home, then they know that they will face retribution from the West, particularly the United States. You're not allowed to have your prisoners home.
Let me ask you about Zimbabwe. Now, they went out ahead of everybody with land reform and doing anything like that. And they really took huge hits from all the attacks from the West. Where are they now?
Well, they can only do their transactions internationally through non-Western mechanisms. So they have to go through country-to-country interactions, and their country-to-country interactions are basically China.
Are they with the Sahel nations? Are they allied in any way? I don't know geographically.
No, they're with SADC, but then you got to understand SADC can't touch them. They can't really regionally interact. And remember, that was an issue that folks were, I think it was between like Zambia and Zimbabwe. They were charging them like rice, like double the cost.
And look, what does Africa need the West for anyway, right? I mean, hey, they might need some military equipment. They could get that from Russia. Food, they could grow their own food. Why this need to please the West? I mean, is it because they're scared they're going to be invaded? I think at this point where Russia is having, Russia is having,
go ahead.
Yeah, well, Russia is having these issues, fighting the NATO. This is the time to really break apart and to form this union and not be scared of these jokers no more, right?
Yeah, and you're right. Those are easier said than done. But when you in the back rooms, I'm gonna tell you what happens in the back rooms. They get murderous threats. Like
that is true.
We're gonna come after you.
Yeah, they will murk you. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how many assassination attempts does Ibrahim Traore have? I mean, like over 24 and counting. You know what I'm saying? Yep. How many coup attempts? Over dozens and counting. And it's not just him. It's also happening in Niger, and it's also happening in Mali, right? But they're not effective anymore because people now have seen the game. So if they're not effective anymore, then you have to go to other countries where they're still relatively dictated. You got to go to another African dictatorship.
That's why you can't have a quote unquote democracy. You literally you got to have a military regime because they're coming for you. You have to be a military protection troops. You literally have to have an army to protect you if you're going to make that step. That's why we see the soldiers are taking the thing, because to make that step, you're at war. So your soldiers got to leave.
The only reason that they believe in democracy, the West, is because they can control who gets in office by money
Exactly.
and investment.
It's easier to
Right.
It's
undermine
not
a
even money and
democracy.
Yeah.
investment. Come on now. They've already
Yeah.
shown that. You're
Yeah.
selected, right? And I think if Musk wants to bring that on out, I know that Musk knows that he would be, he won't have long left on this side of the earth, or the soil.
He's a man without a country because they don't want him back in South Africa either.
Yeah, he's stateless. No, for real, he's literally stateless. And it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have gone out. We could talk about that all the day long. He's gonna be in political exile probably in the next 90 days. Mark my words.
But he's a citizen of Canada, isn't he?
Supposedly.
So he could go there. I'm sure they're liberal, right? So I
Mhm.
would think, yeah.
So
Yeah,
they're gonna treat him like that dude, Julian Assange, whatever, that guy that did the big leak, I guess.
Nah, he got too much money.
He got too much money. Yeah. Now he had some pockets, and he's got folks and skeletons. No, that's it's not gonna happen like that. But it is gonna happen that he's probably getting some things slid on over under the door. He's probably gotten some emails. Listen, you look. Do you want to be deleted in the next 15 minutes? You know what I'm saying? That causes paranoia. That could frighten folks.
I'm not convinced that whole Elon Trump thing isn't a stage play.
I think it's
I was just getting ready to say it's all a distraction, if you ask me.
Oh, it's staged. It's staged, but it can still be staged with some real life deadly consequences. Don't get that twisted.
Well, his car company was alienated from his liberal support basis. So if he looks like an enemy to Trump, maybe he can get back some of those people doing those cars. But they may have threatened him because, it'd be very easy for a battery to blow up in one of your cars, Elon. They have problems with those.
Yeah, see, Elon is a globalist company, and not only is he doing Neuralink, he's also doing the robots that's going to be, cleaning up your house and cooking your food, right? He's the one. That's why some people saying he going to become a multi-trillion-dollar company because he's moving in, heavy in the AI and robots and all this stuff. So.
Honestly, he'll have his own robot army deployed, around him. So I don't, so I don't really, put stock into that. But what that does, it creates the mechanism that there's a quote unquote freedom fighter. There ain't no freedom fighters around here. No.
Yeah.
All that stuff here is staged to do what? To ensure that people are, wrapped up into whatever fallacy that's happening while they're getting evicted. Because why? Because people are losing their jobs. This market is crashing. Because why? Because you can't have anything stable if you're getting liquidated. I mean, you see what I'm saying? And that's the whole reality. The only stability, and it's funny because believe it or not, us Hebrews, us Israelites, Black folks, African Americans, whatever you want to say or label yourself, you actually have more of a stability than they do. They can't just up and go to Europe. They just can't up and go to South America. They can't even just up and go to Africa like that. Do you know that we actually have more transportability than they do?
We have better cachet around the world than they do. We're not the ugly Americans.
We have more transportability. We can go on over. That's why I said, look, when I tell people NeoDiplomacy is the new economy, because why? It's relationships. Relationships. And I had stressed this since last year. Relationships. That relationship is a currency because why? Because now, and I don't even tell you all the stories. They're have folks from BlackRock, No, I didn't sell out. Could have been easy. Yeah. Brother Karras could have been living good.
Have to compromise, though.
I'd have to compromise. I'd have to be looking like like our one general that ain't, that just got fired. You know what I'm saying?
Try on this coonskin Davy Crockett hat. See how it fits you. It's filled with money.
I have to change my voice on up. Well, listen, folks. Listen, I think we want to make sure that listen. I want you to understand. All right, look, I don't even really have time. I got an 11 o'clock tea time, but listen,
You sound like General Langley.
He do, don't he? He sounds just like.
I'd have to change up my style and everything.
Hello.
You do have that military background.
And I'm not a member of the Jackson 5.
I need to get my duck shoes, and I need to just have a spritz of hot sauce on the mayonnaise sandwiches.
But it's funny. Our people sell out us when they want an Africa without Africans, and as a matter of fact, they don't just want an Africa without Africans. They want a planet without Africans, and our people just don't get it. It's like, okay, you get the temporary benefit of some money and a cushy life temporarily, but you're on the plan to be deleted. That's what our people don't understand.
Yeah. And you know what? And that was the whole thing. Because, man, look, the way they did it was real nuanced. It was real. Oh man, yeah, we could definitely support these initiatives. All right, awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you got to go through and investigate. And I said, oh, heck to the no. And then, I had to ask the questions. Well, it's this and that. And, but this is how we do business. Oh, my goodness. I said, thank you, Father, that you gave me the wisdom to look and ask the questions. Because if you don't think that they're heavily in here trying to infiltrate, because why? Because they're kind of hamstrung too. Not as much as, the average person, but no, they are. Because why? Because they don't have access to those materials, to those resources. And if you're the most greediest nation on this planet that will steal children and people, right? Their greed is never satisfied.
Yeah, the West thinks Africa belongs to them, and they also think Africans still belong to them. That's what they think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. So they'll dangle that little carrot here and there. They'll dangle some things and trinkets in front of you. Oh, they'll dangle. Oh. But I said, I appreciate you all reaching on out, but we can't move forward at this time. That hurt. But I also said, thank you, Father, because that means we're doing some things right. That means, Father, you have something more awesome and spectacular than what we could even think about. What we can even imagine. Brother Guard knows he was in on that phone call.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I mean,
but you know what? The Most High still has to change the hearts and minds of a lot of people on the continent. Because trust me, they love themselves some Europeans.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Tell you, when I go away, and it's everybody on the ship from different countries. I'm telling you, name it, they're on there. And a lot of times I'm standing there and my status is high. Mm-hmm. And I'm standing there and I'm the one tipping these people because I don't drink. My wife, she drink. I'm always at the bar getting me a little soda, getting her a drink. And I don't just go up there especially I literally wait for my people or who I believe is my people to come serve me so I could tip them. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there waiting patiently. And here comes a European over my shoulder. And I've been sitting at the damn bar. And they will literally knock me over to serve him.
Oh yeah.
And I'm the one that's been sitting here tipping you and you know, chatting up conversation, where you're from and this, that, and the other. The minute that European steps up, all that goes out the window. And he looks past me, you know. And I'm saying to myself, my God,
was that South Africa, Eric?
It's everywhere. South Africa, it's the Caribbean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
It's
colonization.
Exactly.
Look at the psyops you have to put on somebody to hold them down when they're the majority and they're on their own land. See, we knew we were at war from the moment they grabbed us on those ships. We were chains and stuff like that. We knew our status over there. The chains had been on their minds forever. We had chains on our bodies, but they had real chains on their minds.
They don't know about the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah, on their shirts, they'll have their name and the country they're from.
Yes.
A lot of people from the Caribbean. You see a lot of people, it'll literally say South Africa. It'll say, you know, and I'm, you know, I'll say, okay, cool. Where South Africa from or whatever, you know, just chat up a little conversation. And then the moment, I'll give you a story. Not the last time, but the time before this. We up on the deck in the solarium, you know, and I'm back and forth. So now this guy, he's from India, right? So I'm telling him, it's the same drink every time. I ask him, let me have a Diet Coke with 2 cherries. I done had 5 of them by now, right? And I'm tipping in, we chat up conversation. So now, sure enough, who's over my shoulder? Now, the man making my drink is always the same thing. A Diet Coke, a Diet Pepsi rather, whatever, with 2 cherries. The man hurrying up to make my drink, he forget my cherry. So he can serve this European. I'm the same guy that's been ordering the same blasted drink for the last half hour or 4 hours. But you so quick to pass me my drink so you can hurry up and serve him. All of a sudden, you forget what I ordered.
Can I say something?
Myself, this is what I tip these people for. So that's why I say it won't change. You know, that white supremacy has to be fully torn down in order for us to say, okay, these people get it.
I was just gonna say, Brother Eric, I could definitely understand that. That's frustrating. That's what happens when you don't control your own image and everyone looks down on you and colonization. But I'm at the point where I expected.
Can I say something?
Move like Yahusha and just.
You went up.
Oh, can you hear me now? I'm just saying. I'm gonna say it real quick. You just have to have compassion on them and just move forward with our people, because it's not going to be like that all the time, and it's soon ending. And the younger generation isn't like that. The younger generation, the people in Burkina Faso, the younger brothers and sisters were so nice and accommodating. And when I was going back home, going to the airport, and I remember this guy looked at me in disgust because I didn't speak French, and it was a brother. So, it's unfortunate. All right, I'm done talking now.
Better learn that French, Brother Garth. I'm telling you. Parlez-vous français. Pratiquez chaque fois, chaque jour, parce que pratique est parfait. All right, Sister Chantel, go ahead.
Okay, so I was going to say, it's funny because, like, when you talk about the image and everything and how they are breaking their necks to serve them over us and those who, even though we would give them and do everything for them. I remember reading, I can't remember what book it was in, but I remember reading, I think even Dante brought it out. I think even you might have brought it out, Brother Jacoba. And it was the history of the Israelites who were in Europe at the time when the church started forming. One of the things that was happening is that when these priests, the Catholic priests, were starting to set up, and they wanted to have they wanted remember, with them it's always a popularity contest, yeah. And one of the things that was happening is that they were hoping they wanted to make the people come to them to pray, to donate their attention and their time and their money and so on and so forth to their institution that was just forming. But what ended up happening is that the peasantries, or the sorry, the lower classes of the Europeans, but specifically the Romans or the Italians at the time, what they were doing, they would go to their church, they would go to church and so on and so forth. But what they started doing, they would go to the Israelite and they would ask them to come into their fields and to pray over their fields. It got to the point where they actually stopped attending church, where they started actually just focusing on the Israelites and trying to go to them to ask them to to pray for them, pray for their sheep, pray for their cattle, pray for their fields, their crops, and so on and so forth, because they understood, well, you have an ear to God, so to speak, quote unquote. You know, you're those people. And that happening made these priests of this new religion that was coming on the scenes to become really jealous, and that's when they started bringing out other laws, and that's when they also started changing the Sabbath, and I think at the time there was they had the 2 days, they were acknowledging the Sunday, but they also had the Sabbath. And what people were doing is that they wanted to keep the Sabbath holy. Their version of keeping the Sabbath holy was to have to fast and to pray and to sanctify themselves on the Sabbath. But on the Sunday, keeping the sun's day, there was feasting, there was merriment and so on and so forth. And then what ended up happening is that people started to turn their backs on what was seen, what they said, the Jew, ish, or but it was they turned their backs on it because it was like, oh, this is too hard, it's too miserable of a day,
They
we're
turned it against the
fasting.
wall.
Right. And so people started to look forward to worshiping or coming together on the Sunday. And then there was the feasting, there was the coming together, and so on and so forth. And as that started to happen, they started to capitalize on that and use that as a means to transfer the solemnity. I'm not talking about from the time when they did the conference, the Council of Nicaea. This is before. They started to move away from I don't want to say venerating Israelites, but in a way, yes, because they looked towards the descendants as these are the people, and their God is with them. So
It's the paganization of our people, and that brought us
yes,
online. But what we talked about earlier, I just want to real quick. What happened is that scepter is heavy. We talk about the Africans. Hey, is the reason the traffic. It says that Judah's going to be trafficked all over the world, and we got the scepter. So they don't have the scepter. So when they get around those other people, they can tend to go into that mode. But that you could see the difference, and you're the difference maker. That's your job, Judah. You be Judah. That's why you got the scepter, because you don't fall for that okie doke. I'll land my plane on that.
Yeah, no, I was just, all I wanted to say with that was just literally, it's just where we're seeing the shift now. With us, it was like, I feel like as if they've been doing this because they're very much about image and how they look and like I said, it's an attention thing, and it's also a competition. It's very much a competition with them. So it's almost like over the centuries, they've shifted people's perspective of us to the point where they're the ones, oh, I've got to serve them. They're the ones that are good. They're the ones that are this, that, and the other. I think you brought that verse out, Yakoba, yesterday. Woe to those who call good for evil, evil for good, light for darkness, and darkness for light. You know, so they've literally changed it. They've shifted it, and they're getting stressed over this because they see and they feel the shift, just as we all feel it, and they're actually understanding that they understand the scriptures. Don't get it twisted. They're understanding that they're about to lose it. They're they're understanding that they're going to be the tail again and not the head. And that's you know, I just wanted to. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do have to go. So it was nice talking to everybody, being on the panel, and Yakobo, it was nice to see you.
God
And
bless
you made me
Good to
stay.
see you again.
I felt so guilty that I had
Good
to
talking
stay
to
a
you,
little bit
Chantel.
longer. I had to stay a
Appreciate it.
little longer. All right, thank you. See you later. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Sister
From
Take
Chantel.
Great
care.
Britain.
Yeah. We're gonna have to pick this on up tomorrow because there's still a lot to talk about. The Marines have landed in LA. I don't know if y'all ever saw that sci-fi movie Battle LA. There's a lot of things that's actually happening on the continent as we speak. A lot of folks, look, this to me is the biggest distraction point in history ever, but we know it's going to get even worse and worse and worse. I want to say, if you all want to have closing comments, because I got to get up on and get some things done.
I'll go. I just want to say thanks for having me. Keep up the great work. You guys is doing an excellent job. You're definitely a catalyst for bringing the two sticks together. I don't know if you believe it or not, but the Most High has chose you for a time such as this. Don't get distracted with all the foolishness. I know you already know this. You know, we're too divided, and it has to stop. It really has to stop. It has to. All little how many attacks and all that other stuff. I'm putting it on the record. I don't want to be involved with nothing that has us at odds with each other. My soul just can't take it, especially now with this thing with my mom gone. Life is too blasted short. You understand? If we're gonna move, we have to move as a unit. And all the extra BS has to just go away. Everybody don't know everything. Everybody's not gonna agree on everything. But what we can agree on, that's what we should build our foundation on and keep it moving. All that other shit, and I meant to say shit, has to stop. Anyway, blessings
Brother
to
Eric,
you
this is
all.
a family program, Brother Eric.
Blessings to you all. Love you. Keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you, Brother Eric. Who'd like to go next?
Oh, I'll tap out. Go and tap out. I thank you. I thank all of the panel for bringing together this iron sharpener. It's invaluable, and I think the Ruach Hakodesh is operating much like our Savior did. That he speaks to some people in parables, and he speaks to a certain group directly, and it's a lot of direct knowledge coming in this group, and he's going to order our steps. So I just thank you for the dialogue, and like the brother said before, we're together. If nobody else together, it just takes a small group come together in one accord to do that. So Father, in the name of Yeshua, I just pray that we continue to come together and you continue to use everybody on this panel, and I'll end with that.
Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Eric. I appreciate that.
So I'll go next. Basically, you know, I think a lot of people, I'm not saying everybody can see that these are trying times. These are biblical times. And, you know, whether or not you decide you're going to make preparations or not, that's on you, between you and the Most High and your family. Now, as far as, you know, I understand where Brother Eric was coming from with the getting along stuff, but I'm not looking to get along with anybody who don't get along with me, right? I'm not looking to get along with anybody who lies on me. I'm not looking to get along with anybody who betrays me. There's things that our people don't know that happens behind the scenes, that when we respond, we look like the bad guy. I'm not the one, right? I'm good being alone, right? Me and the Most High, and I'm good, right? Like this one little kid, he was like, I enjoy being with me. I enjoy going to the restaurant with me. I enjoy going to the movies just with me. I enjoy that. That's me. I enjoy that. I'm not looking to make friends because, I've been betrayed so many times. You can't even count on one hand, right? So I'm not looking for friends, right? I'm looking for people who love the Most High. I'm looking for people who love our people, who want to treat our people right, who want to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's who I'm looking to hook up with. I'm not looking for this fake friendship that's looking to get along with camp members who deny the deity of the Messiah, who deny that Yeshua is God in human flesh. I'm not the one, right? I'm not the one. I'm not looking to get along with everybody. I just want to let y'all know that. But I do love y'all. I do love my people, but I'm not looking to get along with everybody. Love y'all. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is in there.
All right.
I just had to say it.
Thank you, Kobe. Appreciate it.
All right. See y'all.
All right. Oh, let me, Garth, you are next. Next up, final words.
Okay, before my mic cuts out, I just want to thank you for having this platform, and I'm just letting everyone know. So, I mean, I know this is your channel, but Q2A Exploring the Motherland will be on a pause indefinitely until things are a little bit more stable in my life, and I'm able to, commit and give you guys the news responsibly and accurately. But other than that, a lot.
Might cut out.
Everyone stay encouraged. I saw that blood moon last night, and it just told me to keep on, looking up to the sky, because our redemption draws nigh. And before my mic cuts out, I just thank you, everyone, and everyone stay encouraged, and I'm out of here. Peace. Shalom.
All right. Shalom. Thank you, Brother Garth. All right, family. Yeah, I got some things to do. I gotta get things moving. A very busy day. I told you that container is out to sea, and a lot of things are moving in the background. A lot of things. I can't tell you about everything that's going on, because obviously we do have a lot of our people that do want to sabotage things. That's the best saboteurs are literally ourselves, unfortunately. But in this season, the Most High is moving different. He's having us walk different. We are carrying ourselves different, because His Spirit is going forth on His people. So with that said, family, I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your support. If you like what I do here at this channel, well, I appreciate your support. You could do so by doing Cash App, $COVAWK1, or you could do PayPal or Zelle at karac@msn.com. That's karac@msn.com. Family, continue to keep me up in prayer, because a lot of triggers got pulled, so there's now a lot of engagements that I got to get done this week. There's a lot of things I do behind the scenes. So continue to keep me in prayer, family. And I have a very, very important one even today. So, yes, family, I would love to tell you all the things we're doing. And there's going to be a time I'm going to tell you all the things we're doing when the Most High releases me to do so. But I'm going to say this is a very, very important and pivotal hour. And we need to remain encouraged, because the Most High is truly moving on our behalf in an awesome and mighty way. So stay encouraged. Please stay encouraged. this isn't to say, woe is me. This is to say, thank you, Father, for what you're doing and how you are moving on our behalf. Because if you didn't know, we actually serve a truly awesome and wonderful Father. His name is Yahuwah. And when you're covered under the blood of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, guess what? Your moving in love is actually moving in power. Because it's goodness and righteousness and truth. So when you're declaring things, when you're declaring your needs, when you're declaring your authority and frustration and frustrating times that we're all going through. We're all going through frustrating times. Why? Because the Most High is now having us to understand, to open up our mouths and declare, Father, I thank you for prosperity. Father, I thank you for how you're moving. Father, I thank you for how you are working on me to move for your people and on your behalf. That's a big deal. We already have the victory through Yahushua HaMashiach. So lift up your head and definitely stay encouraged because we are moving in an awesome and mighty way. So with that said, family, Most High willing, I'll be on tomorrow. This is a long one, over 3 hours. Hallelujah. And I still have my voice. That's a blessing. So with that said, family, Shalom, Salama, Siemi, Shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.